Chapter 1252. In the space tunnel, the moment Lin Ray stepped into it, many scenes appeared in his mind. They were the scenes of when he had just entered the cultivation world and obtained the system. However, he didn't expect that the system would directly give him a title. However, this title seemed to be useless for the current Lin Ray. Because this title couldn't help him get out of this dangerous situation. In the outside world, the demonic beasts saw the space tunnel appear. The moment they saw Lin Ray step into it, they felt a surge of anger. Just think about it. A human with lower cultivation than them was able to escape unscathed in front of them. What was this? Provocation? That's right. This was a kind of provocation to them who were in charge of a clan of demonic beasts. They felt that their dignity was being challenged. For them, this was something that absolutely couldn't happen. Most importantly, this matter happened in front of their own clansmen. This was something that they couldn't allow to happen. Bastard. So what if you enter the space tunnel? A sinister expression flashed as it waved its huge tail. The moment Lin Ray entered the space tunnel, the huge tail instantly hit the space tunnel. Rumble. Suddenly, inside the tunnel, Lin Ray, who had just obtained the title of Little Master next door, the tunnel around him suddenly began to shake. Turning around, his complexion changed greatly. He had a bad premonition. He saw that the entrance to the space tunnel had begun to fall apart. Although Lin Ray's cultivation of space divine power wasn't very strong, he was still able to understand the shattering of space. Even if someone who hadn't cultivated space divine power saw the shattering of the entrance, they would be able to imagine what would happen later. Master, this is bad. That demonic beast destroyed the entrance of the space tunnel. The space tunnel we condensed wasn't very stable. Now that it has been destroyed, it's very likely that... Longy paused and continued worriedly. It's very likely that the destruction of the entrance will lead to the collapse of the entire space tunnel. Therefore, Master, quickly think of a way to escape from here. If you enter the space turbulence, we don't dare to guarantee what will happen. Thump. Hearing the words of the 9 dragons, Lin Ray's heart jumped. Sure enough, the thing he didn't want to happen the most had happened. What he had felt before had now become a reality. Being sucked into spatial turbulence made Lin Ray's heart turn to ashes. Spatial turbulence was a place that even heavenly saints could not return from. Although saints could open up their own space, the existence of spatial turbulence was exactly what saints did not want to encounter the most. If Hong Jun was in the Tao integration stage, he might be able to resist the spatial turbulence. However, this was undoubtedly fatal to the current Lin Ray. What should I do? What should I do? At this moment, Lin Ray's mind was in a mess. He was no longer as calm as before. He was able to control everything. Previously, he had the 9 dragons to open up the spatial tunnel. Perhaps he had nothing to fear, but now... Host, there's no point in blaming yourself now. As the saying goes, when it's time to use your knowledge, you'll regret not having enough knowledge. There's no point in thinking about all this nonsense now. What we should do now is to leave this place. Leave this awe-inspiring place. F***ck, you make it sound so easy. Lin Ray despised the system's words. Anyone could say nice things, but in the face of absolute power, saying such things was tantamount to nonsense. Lin Ray, you can open up a new spatial tunnel. Although I can't guarantee that we'll be able to return together, it can greatly offset the current situation. Little dragon. Lin Ray was very familiar with this voice. Hurry up and communicate with the 9 dragons. Let them help you to open up a new spatial tunnel. However, it's very dangerous to open up a new spatial tunnel in the middle of a spatial tunnel. However, the chances of survival are very good. Long E, the 9 dragons, cooperate with me and open up a new spatial tunnel in the middle of the spatial tunnel. Hurry up. After saying that, Lin Ray immediately mobilized his spatial divine power. However, all the bones in his body were shattered. Coupled with the impact on his internal organs, such a big movement would naturally cause Lin Ray unbearable pain. Master, this is impossible. It's impossible to open up a new spatial tunnel in the middle of a spatial tunnel. Moreover, it's very likely that this spatial tunnel will be shattered. If it doesn't succeed, the final outcome might be even worse. Yes, Master. Have you thought it through? The 9 dragons began to question. It wasn't that they didn't believe in Lin Ray. It was just that this matter was too unimaginable. It had never happened before. One had to know that they were top experts when they were alive. They still had this little bit of common sense. It's good enough for me. Lin Rei was angry. At this time, it was useless to say such things. Wasn't the current plan to find a way to survive? Although all of this seemed impossible to them, since the little dragon dared to say it, it meant that the little dragon had seen this kind of thing before. Or perhaps, the little dragon had done it before. The 9 dragons didn't say anything. They didn't dare to say anything. Lin Rei's reprimand made them completely silent. They quietly listened to Lin Rei's reprimand. Listen to me. Cooperate with me to mobilize my spatial divine power and build a new spatial tunnel. Moreover, other than this method, do you have any other ideas? If you do, I will listen to you. But if you don't, then listen to me obediently. The 9 dragons fell silent. However, they didn't have any other choice. Thinking about it, the 9 dragons didn't hesitate. They mobilized their divine power. Suddenly, a terrifying spatial divine power surged out from the primal chaos dragon spear like a tide and rushed into Lin Rei's body. Boom! Suddenly, a vigorous spatial divine power surged into his body. Feeling the vigorous spatial divine power, Lin Rei smiled. His expression was sharper than his body. Open! The little dragon didn't retreat. Instead, it secretly guided Lin Rei on how to reopen another spatial tunnel. Kacha! Kacha! Lin Rei's actions were very fast. He started to reopen the spatial tunnel. Then, the spatial tunnel behind him started to collapse. Without a doubt, this was a death sentence for Lin Rei. It constantly reminded him that he couldn't afford to be careless. At this moment, it was a true race against time. It was a true confrontation with the god of death. It was a true comprehension that his strength was far from enough for him to walk freely in the saints' world. Faster! Faster! Lin Rei panicked. He raised his spatial divine power to another level. At this moment, he only hoped that he could survive. As for the price? It was nothing in front of him. Kacha! The sound of bones shattering rang out in Linley's ears. In this moment, Linley truly understood what it meant to have one's body shattered and one's bones shattered. Chapter 1253. Crack, crack. The space continued to shatter and did not stop because of Lin Rei's pain. In the system space, the speed at which the space was shattering increased after Lin Rei rebuilt the space tunnel. Seeing that it was about to engulf Lin Rei, the little dragon's expression was full of vicissitudes. Sighing, Xiaolong shook his head. Many images flashed through his mind. There were images of his children, of his family living in harmony, of killing, of blood flowing like rivers, of millions of corpses lying on the ground. These images flashed through his mind one after another. On the contrary, Xiaolong's determination flashed through his mind. Have you decided? The system asked. There was a rare hint of sadness in its voice. Hearing this, the little dragon was silent for a long time. Then it nodded and replied, I've decided. Ever since I was taken in by the system, I knew that there was only one outcome for me, and that was for the person who obtained the system. In times of danger, I would ask the host to stay. I knew this when I entered the system. This is also my destiny, and I can't change it. If Lin Rei was here and heard this, he would definitely understand the meaning behind the little dragon's words. At the same time, he would do his best to stop this from happening. Unfortunately, Linley had no idea what the two of them were talking about, nor did he know what they were talking about. Since you've decided, let's begin. However, you don't have to be discouraged. Just now, I extracted a trace of your soul. As long as the host can find a powerful treasure of heaven and earth, as long as the host can cultivate to break through, it will be enough to wake you up again. So don't worry, you won't be. Although I told you about your ending when you came here, you've done well during this period of time. I believe that if the host knew that you died because of him, he would be very sad and might even walk the path of destruction from then on. This is not what the system wants to see. Moreover, without you, I'll be very lonely. Tisk! Hearing the system's teasing, the little dragon rolled its eyes. Of course, its heart was filled with warmth. After all, they had been together for so long and had become best friends. With your words, I can leave without worry. Ha! He opened his arms wide and roared at the sky. Suddenly, his body expanded like a balloon. His body continued to expand until it reached the final boundary. Bang, a loud sound rang out in the system space. The little dragon died, and the moment the little dragon died, a rich amount of heaven and earth spirit chi gushed out of the system and entered Lin Rei's body. Boom. What's going on? Lin Rei was startled by the sudden appearance of such a huge amount of heaven and earth spirit chi in his body. Don't dilly-dally, hurry up and refine it. Use this spiritual energy of heaven and earth to speed up the construction of the spatial tunnel. The little dragon's voice sounded. Now, Lin Rei understood where the spiritual energy of heaven and earth in his body came from. Understood. Lin Rei did not waste his breath. He hurriedly circulated the chaos heavenly scripture and heaven-devouring mantra to refine the worldly spiritual energy in his body. At the same time, he sped up the construction of the spatial tunnel. Of course, all of this did not alleviate Lin Rei's pain. It only allowed him to speed up the opening of the spatial tunnel. Time passed slowly. In the blink of an eye, a few minutes had passed. Finally, under the sacrifice of the little dragon, the spatial tunnel was opened. Really reopened the Dragon Year Tunnel. This is too unbelievable. This is simply a miracle. Yes, this is simply impossible in our era. I didn't expect this to really succeed. Master is truly a genius. He actually did it. Looking at the reopening of the spatial tunnel, the 9 dragons began to praise Lin Rei's efforts. At the same time, they were amazed by the reopening of the spatial tunnel. Finally, it's done. Looking at the reopening of the spatial tunnel, Lin Rei squeezed out a smile with difficulty. However, because of the miserable condition in his body, his face was extremely pale. If it wasn't for his willpower controlling the heaven and earth spirit chi in his body, he would have already died. Gotcha. Master, hurry up and go in. It's almost too late. Feeling the aura of the spatial turbulence behind him, Long Yi's expression changed greatly. He reminded Lin Rei. I know. Lin Rei understood. Moving his broken body, he took a step forward with difficulty and stepped into the reconstructed spatial tunnel. Gotcha. The original spatial tunnel had already reached the extent of rupture. In an instant, it covered the reconstructed spatial tunnel Lin Rei had reconstructed. Give me the transmission. Lin Rei was very clear about the situation behind him. Now, the reconstructed spatial tunnel was affected by another spatial tunnel and returned to its original state. Master! The 9 dragons became worried. They didn't expect that even if they reconstructed the spatial tunnel, the final result would still be like this. Give me the transmission. Ignoring the 9 dragons, Long Yi stared ahead and roared. He poured in the last of his strength and raised his arms. The seals in his hands were constantly changing. Wang. Lin Rei's hands were constantly changing seals. A blue light flashed in front of him. This is transmission. Transmission array? Looking at the light in front of them, the 9 dragons were stunned. Their expressions changed. That's right, it was a transmission array. When he was reconstructing the spatial tunnel, he had already expected this scene to appear. Therefore, when he was reconstructing the spatial tunnel, he built a transmission array that could transmit people. Although he didn't know if it would be useful or if it could be used to transmit people to this place, but in this situation, there was no need to care about that. Wang. The transmission array activated. Lin Rei's figure appeared like a ghost. He turned around and looked at the scene of the space shattering. He faintly remembered this scene in his heart. Just wait. It won't be long before this noble one catches up to this level. From today onwards, this noble one will never let this scene appear again. This noble one will make all these disappear in front of absolute strength. Swish! Just as Lin Rei finished speaking, the blue light shone brightly. The transmission array activated. Lin Rei's figure disappeared from this spatial tunnel. Gotcha. The moment Lin Rei disappeared, the spatial tunnel collapsed completely. It was instantly submerged in the vast space. In the Holy World, on an island deep in the Eastern Sea, Lu Xuxing and the others were currently on a cliff. They looked at the area where Lin Rei was and felt guilty. I wonder if we were right or wrong this time. That's right. This time, in the end, we have failed fellow Taoist Linley. The 3 of them were silent. Towards Lin Rei, there was a kind of shackle in their hearts. It was a kind of shackle that came from Tendo. If they couldn't break this shackle, they might not be able to reach the end of their cultivation realm in this lifetime. This was the price they had to pay for leaving. The price they had to pay for living. Chapter 1254. Yellow Region. Within a radius of 5,000 kilometers around Chuan Valley, the scenery had changed completely at this moment. The originally chaotic, murderous, and bloody scene had completely vanished during this period of time. In the past 2 years, there were many sects within 30,000 miles of Chuan Valley. However, only one sect remained. The Nine Heavens Xuanzong Sect. That's right. After Lin Rui left, Lin Yun and the others began to suppress the surrounding sects according to Lin Rui's orders. A sect that no one knew about gradually appeared before everyone's eyes. When the Nine Heavens Xuanzong Sect first appeared, the sects within 10,000 miles only looked at them with disdain. There was no other reason other than the sudden appearance of the Nine Heavens Xuanzong Sect. There weren't many people in the sect, only 60 to 70,000. A sect with this number of people was not worth mentioning to the established sects that had already taken root in the saints' world. And just like that, the sects that everyone disdained had, in a short 2 years, ruled 30,000 miles. Within 10,000 miles, those who complied would prosper, and those who disobeyed would perish. There was no exception. Originally, under the rule of so many sects, killing could be seen everywhere. The ordinary people and weak cultivators who lived within 30,000 miles lived in fear every day. In the past 2 years, with the rule of the Nine Heavens Xuanzong Sect, the area within 30,000 miles began to change. The weak were no longer on tenterhooks. They no longer had to worry about whether they would live their lives today or tomorrow. They were now living the most peaceful life they had ever lived. This was all thanks to the Nine Heavens Xuanzong Sect. Because of this, the name of the Nine Heavens Xuanzong Sect was known by all the sects within 30,000 miles. Now, no one believed that the Nine Heavens Xuanzong Sect was still the same existence that they looked down on. They began to feel fear, dread, and fear. They were afraid that they would be targeted by the Nine Heavens Xuanzong Sect and their fates would be different. On the contrary, Lin Yun and the others did not give up just because they had expanded 30,000 miles. This was because it was not enough, far from enough. They were still far from the goal that Lin Rui had set for them. Jiuqin Xuanzong Sect Red Lotus stood in front of the Red Lotus Hall, her gaze locked into the distance. She did not conceal her melancholy. When will this kind of life be over? When will we be able to live a peaceful life? If back then? If I hadn't awakened those memories back then, if I hadn't chosen to leave you, perhaps all of this would have been different. In her mind, she couldn't help but think of the time when she chose to leave Lin Rui. At that time, she thought she was very noble. Who would have thought that in the end, she would realize that everything was because of her ignorance. And this kind of ignorance eventually brought about an indelible price for him. This price made her feel so much pain that she wished she was dead. Red Lotus. A man's voice interrupted Red Lotus's thoughts. What are you doing here? She didn't turn around. She was very familiar with this voice. Life. After 2 years of battle and cooperation, the two of them were already very familiar with each other. Ming's figure appeared beside Red Lotus. He had heard Red Lotus's muttering. He had heard a little about what happened back then. At that time, he was still angry about Hong Lian's departure. However, after spending some time with her, his anger had mostly disappeared. Sigh. He sighed and shook his head. Don't think about what happened back then. After all, what happened back then wasn't what you wanted to happen. It's just a memory from before. At least. He spoke a little more and continued, at least we're still alive. That's more important than anything, isn't it? Moreover, we're alive because of young master's love. You should know what I'm trying to say. At this moment, the two of them met in silence. Neither of them spoke. They just looked into the distance quietly. Princess, can we stop fooling around? You're a noble lady. Moreover, this person is full of experts. There's nothing good about him. If you save him like this, what if he's an evil person? What if he's a notorious bandit? What if he's What? A girl in luxurious clothes with a crystal hairpin in her beautiful hair turned around and interrupted the middle-aged woman behind her. Aunt Meng, you don't have to worry about this. Father once taught me that when I'm outside, helping others is helping myself. Moreover, Saving a life is better than building a 7-floor pagoda. Look here. As she spoke, she pointed at the face of the man lying on the ground and continued, "How can such a handsome man be a bad person?" Aunt Meng was speechless. Aunt Meng was speechless. However, when she thought about the identity of the person in front of her, the vigilance in her heart increased instead of decreasing. Zhu, are you sure you want to save this person? Even if he was an evil person in the past? Fan Jun asked with a serious expression. Looking at Fan Jun, Li Yunju nodded seriously and said seriously, "That's right. Even if this person was an evil person in the past, I'll do everything I can to save him. At the very least I have to treat him. As for whether he's dead or alive after he wakes up, it's none of my business. After all, I'm the one who will treat him." Fan Jun understood Li Yunju's meaning. He nodded with a gratified expression on his face. "You've grown up. You're no longer the little witch who only knew how to eat, drink, and play." After saying that, Fan Jun seemed to have decided on something. A look of determination flashed across his eyes. He bent down and reached out to carry the man on his shoulder. He smiled and said, "Since our little princess has spoken, let's bring this little guy back first. After all, demonic beasts might appear at any time here." You're really going to piss me off." Aunt Meng stomped her feet angrily when she saw that the two of them were not stopping her. Then, she followed them. However, the three of them did not know that when they were on their way, a synthesized electronic voice appeared in the man's mind. Ding. Xuanzong Sect system restarted. Please wait. Ding. Xuanzong Sect system restarted successfully. Adjusting state. Please wait. Ding. Xuanzong Sect system restarted completely. Ding. Automatically scanning region introduction. Please wait. Ding. Scan complete. Host is now in the empty nether domain. Ding. Automatically scanning host's body. Please wait. Ding. Xuanzong Sect system scan successful. Host is now 95% damaged. Host, do you want to repair it? There was no sound. There was no response. Ding. Host is seriously injured. System adjustments cannot be performed. Before host wakes up, system will temporarily store it. Ding. Scanning host's physical body. Severe damage. Immediate repair is required. Host, do you want to? If Lin Rei was there, he would definitely give the system a few slaps. Of course, it was a pity that he was unconscious and could not move. Chapter 1255. Repair. Ding. Repairing the host's damaged body. Please wait. After the system notification, a warm current appeared in Lin Rei's body and started to heal him. Sigh. The host's injuries are too severe. I'm afraid it will take a long time to repair his body. Empyrean Territory. Heavenly King Hongtian Capital. The Emperor's Palace. Within Li Yunju's bedroom, Linli was calmly lying on the bed. His face was pale and bloodless, and his body was limp, as though he had no bones at all. A middle-aged man reached out and placed his hand on Linli's pulse. His face grew more and more unsightly. In the end, his face turned pale, and he stared at Linli in disbelief, as though he had just seen a ghost. How is this possible? The middle-aged man's reaction was obvious. He almost cried out in shock. Li Yunju saw the doctor's reaction and her face changed. She asked excitedly, "Dr. Wang, what happened to this young master? How did he wake up?" "Yes, Dr. Wang," Fan Jun asked. Fan Jun was waiting for Dr. Wang's reply anxiously. However, Dr. Wang was stunned when he heard the questions from the people behind him. His pale face softened a little. "Princess, this young master, where did you bring him back from?" Li Yunju was stunned. She did not expect Dr. Wang to ask such a question. Li Yunju did not hide anything from him. "I found him in the demonic beast's forest. It was a dangerous situation, so I saved him. However, I did not have a doctor with me, so I could only bring him back." "How is it? This young master's condition? The demonic beast's forest?" Dr. Wang was silent. He did not respond to Li Yunju's words as if he did not hear her. The demonic beast's forest? Why did this person appear in the demonic beast's forest? Moreover, all his bones are fractured. Even with such injuries, he is still alive. Who is this guy? Why did such a strange thing happen? Dr. Wang was silent. Questions appeared in his mind one after another. Lin Rei's condition was something he had never seen before in his life. Of course, this was probably the last time. After all, no one would really have nothing better to do and cause all their bones to shatter. It was too painful. Perhaps no one in the entire empty underworld region could endure this kind of pain. Dr. Wang? Dr. Wang's silence made Li Yunju panic inexplicably. It seemed that something bad had happened, and it was related to the man lying on the bed. Dr. Wang? Li Yunju spoke again. She was very anxious, very anxious. Oh, Princess. Imperial Dr. Wang, who was deep in thought, was awakened by Li Yunju. He immediately reacted and patted his forehead. He said, "That's strange. I'm sorry. I was absent-minded just now. Please forgive me, Your Highness." As he spoke, Imperial Physician Wang was about to kneel down. It should be known that the woman in front of him was the precious daughter of the Emperor. Even the Emperor doted on her and treated her like his own daughter. Dr. Wang, we should avoid these unnecessary formalities here. I just want to know when he can do it and how strong he can be. As the saying went, things should not be done more than 3 times. This was the 3rd time Li Yunju had asked. Even if Li Yunju did not blame him in the end, Fan Jun would still do something or even report it. Seeing Li Yunju's sincere and anxious gaze, Imperial Physician Wang fell silent. He did not know whether to tell her about Lin Rei's condition. Fan Jun sensed Imperial Physician Wang's silence. He had been in the Imperial Court for a long time and knew everything. Thinking of this, he stepped forward and came before Imperial Physician Wang. He cupped his hands and said to Li Yunju, "Princess, why don't I send Imperial Physician Wang off first? The young man is lying on the bed now. The only thing we can do now is to bring the medicine back and let the young man drink it." "Of course." Suddenly, Fan Jun's expression changed as he sternly said, "His Highness will find out about this matter sooner or later, so, while His Highness is still in the capital, let's quickly inform His Highness about this matter." That's right. After all, she was a young lady. Hearing Fan Jun's words, Li Yunju's expression changed. She turned around and ran out of the room. Father should be back by now. In the blink of an eye, Li Yunju disappeared from the room. Now, only Fan Jun, Mao, Imperial Physician Wang, and Lin Rei were left in the room. Seeing Li Yunju's figure, Fan Jun turned around and looked at Imperial Physician Wang. He was stunned for a long time before he said, "Imperial Physician Wang, now that the princess has left, why don't you tell us about this young master's injuries?" "Yes, that's right." Aunt Wei agreed. Looking at Fan Jun and Mao, Imperial Physician Wang heaved a sigh of relief. He did not want to hide anything from them. He said, "To be honest, it's not that I don't want to tell you. It's just that this matter is too strange." Fan Jun and Mao were stunned. They looked at each other and then turned to Imperial Physician Wang. They looked like they wanted to continue. The human body has bones. They are the most important thing that supports a person. However, Imperial Physician Wang's gaze fell on Lin Rei. He continued, This fellow's bones are all comminuted." What? What? Fan Jun and Mao exclaimed when they heard this. They could not help but look at Lin Rei. "Imperial Physician Wang, are you sure this is true?" "I'm sure. I'm 100% sure." Imperial Physician Wang turned around. He was silent. His gaze fell on Lin Rei. He had mixed feelings. What did it mean for a person's bones to be comminuted? "Sigh, but you don't have to worry." Imperial Physician Wang's voice sounded again. "This young man is strange. That's why he's strange." "Oh? What do you mean? How can a person whose bones are all comminuted still be alive? Moreover, I can feel that there's a very powerful force in this young man's body. It's healing his injuries bit by bit. This force is very powerful. It's so powerful that all of us together are no match for it." Imperial Physician Wang's face turned serious. He continued, "It's better to inform the Emperor equal to the Emperor to let him go back to where he came from. From now on, don't provoke this young man anymore." The room was silent. Imperial Physician Wang's words made sense. However, Their resolute hearts wavered when they saw Lin Rei's tragic state. In the depths of the Emperor-equals residence, Li Yunju stood in front of the door. She tidied up her messy clothes and reached out to knock on the door. She said, "Father Zhuer is here to greet you." "You little girl." As soon as Li Yunju's voice fell, a middle-aged man's voice suddenly sounded calm. "Come in." "Okay." Chapter 1256. In the room, a middle-aged man was sitting in front of a desk. His face was as clear as jade. If he was young, he would definitely be a handsome man. Of course, he was also very handsome now. Especially his temperament. Sitting in front of the desk, he looked slightly dignified. Thinking about it, this person's life must be extraordinary. Looking at his daughter who pushed the door open, Li Yiping shook his head helplessly. He couldn't help but sigh in his heart. If you were a boy, this personality would be suitable. But as a girl, why? Why do you have such a manly personality? In the future, which young master will fancy you? Which family will dare to marry you? He didn't say it out loud. Looking at his daughter, he smiled. "Little girl, I just came back and you're here. Why are you looking for me?" "Hee hee." Li Yunju smiled and stuck out her tongue. She quickly reached out and put her hand on Li Yiping's shoulder to please him. "Father, it's like this. I saved someone in the demonic beast forest. So, I thought I'd tell you when you came back. I think Father won't disagree." Of course, Zhu has been following Father's teachings since young. Saving a life is better than building a 7-floor pagoda. Zhu didn't embarrass you. Afraid that her father would refuse, Li Yunju quickly said. "Hey, you little girl." How could he not understand Li Yunju's meaning? However, he still had his guard up against the person he saved from the demonic beast forest. What kind of place was the demonic beast forest? Those who could enter it were basically people who stood on the edge of life and death. He knew that this kind of person would disregard everything for their own interests. Saving a life? Hey, what a joke. In the demonic beast forest, not to mention saving a life, even if it was your own family, they would be vulnerable in front of benefits. Thinking about it, he turned to look at his daughter and said seriously, "Do you know who that person is? When you were saving him, did you see any of his companions or elders around?" Li Yunju shook her head. "No, when I saw that person, he was already unconscious, but what? When I saw that person, there were many demonic beasts around. Those demonic beasts were very strong. Even if Father came, you might not be able to deal with them. And this is the strange part. Speak clearly," Li Yiping said, his expression thoughtful. Those monstrous beasts lingered around that person for a long time, but in the end, they all left. Oh, that's not right. They didn't leave. It was more like they ran away. It was as if they had encountered something that scared them. There's such a thing. Li Yiping's curiosity was piqued. He stopped his daughter's words. He really wanted to see what the person his daughter was talking about was like. What made him even more curious was why the demonic beasts fled when there was clearly food right in front of them. Could it be that they had sensed something bigger than them? However, the moment this thought appeared in Li Yiping's mind, it was immediately discarded. If it was really as his daughter had said, then they should have already arrived at that place. If there were powerful demonic beasts present, why would Zhu and the others be fine? A huge question. This question left him puzzled no matter how hard he thought. What the hell is going on? Why didn't those demonic beasts eat him? As she muttered to herself, Li Yunju had already arrived in front of her father. Seeing her father in a daze and Rueru's thoughts, she did not disturb him any further and quietly left the room. No, I can't be careless with such a person. Suddenly, he thought of something. He turned around and said, "I say, daughter, that person you said he." At this moment, Zhuer's figure was nowhere to be seen. There was only a wall. Damn, this little girl. She's not going to serve me anymore? He shook his head and did not probe further. He got up and walked out of the room. As for official business? He was not in the mood to deal with the apartment at all. Of course, at the very least, he would not care about these things before he figured out the other party's identity. In Li Yunju's room, Aunt Mian and Fan Jun stood in front of the window. They looked at the unconscious young man on the bed. Their expressions changed again and again. It was very complicated. Li Zhiping was puzzled by Lin Rei. The two of them were even more puzzled than Li Zhiping. Especially after hearing the results of the imperial physician's diagnosis, they were even more bewildered. This young man is not simple. It seems that we have to personally report this matter to the prince. It's better to get rid of this kind of person as soon as possible. He's too dangerous. Hearing Aunt Meng's words, Fan Jun heavily nodded his head and agreed. That's right. This kind of person is like a ticking time bomb in Wangdu. We cannot leave him here. We must send him away as soon as possible, or else. Otherwise what? Just as the two of them were about to leave, Li Zhiping's voice suddenly came from outside the door. Your Highness? Yes, they were very familiar with Li Zhiping's voice. They turned around and looked at Li Zhiping, who had just stepped into the room. Plop. The two of them immediately knelt on the ground and cupped their fists. Xiao Xiao and Fan Jun, greet your Highness. Get up. Looking at the two of them, Li Zhiping waved his hand and walked up to them. His gaze involuntarily fell on Lin Rei, who was lying on the bed. Says this person? Oh, this person was brought back by the princess. Aunt Mion replied. His injuries are very serious. According to the imperial physician's diagnosis, it's already a miracle that this person is still alive. Fan Jun interrupted. Oh. Li Zhiping turned his head and looked at Fan Jun and Xiao Xiao with a puzzled expression. He waited for the two of them to continue. Your Highness, what this subordinate means is that this young man should be sent away as soon as possible. You have to know that all the bones in his body have been crushed and fractured. This subordinate doesn't know what that means, but this subordinate knows that if it were an ordinary person, it would be impossible for them to survive, let alone for so long. That's right, Your Highness. Such a person must have been very strong before. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to survive until now. So, Your Highness, we should... Enough. Seeing that the two of them were getting more and more excited, Li Zhiping waved his hand to stop them. His gaze fell on Lin Rei, who was lying on the bed, and he started to ponder. All the bones in his body were shattered and fractured. He was very shocked when he heard about it. It was even shocking. He had seen fractures before. Being in the military camp, fractures were nothing. But all the bones in his body were shattered and he was still alive. What was this? A miracle? Luck. He didn't believe that a person could have such miracles and luck. It seemed that this young man had to move somewhere else. This place was indeed not suitable for him to stay. Chapter 1257. Auntie Meng. This young man is a little strange. Putting aside the fact that he is seriously injured, just the fact that he was in the demonic beast forest means that we can't let him stay in the mansion. Your Highness, you mean? As she spoke, Auntie Meng and Fan Jun looked at each other. They had some suspicions in their hearts. Send this young man to the villa in the suburbs to recuperate. Use the best medicinal herbs every day. As for when he will wake up, that will depend on his luck. Plop. Hearing Li Zhiping's words, the two of them immediately knelt on the ground and cupped their hands in obeisance. Your Highness is kind and benevolent. We will make the arrangements right away. However, don't worry. I will personally inform Zhu about sending this young man to the villa. Yes, Your Highness. After that, the two of them got up and arranged for some people to carry Lin Rei into the carriage. They then drove the carriage to the villa in the suburbs. Now, in front of Zhuer's door, there was a hint of worry on his face. I don't know if today's decision is good or not. Forget it. I better inform Zhuer quickly. Otherwise, I don't know what will happen. As he spoke, he walked towards the front yard. At this moment, Li Yunzhu came out of Li Zhiping's room and went to the pavilion in the front yard. She sat down and drank tea. Zhuer. Li Zhiping's voice rang out, breaking the tranquil and picturesque scene. Father. Li Yunzhu got up and bowed to Li Zhiping. Li Zhiping nodded and continued. Father went to see the young man you brought back just now. Father went to see him? Li Yunzhu was a little surprised. She did not expect her father to go personally. Nonsense. You brought him back personally. As a father, how can I not care? However. At this point, his face turned serious and he said, Look at you. As a girl, how can you let a man lie on your bed? Our family has more than 100 rooms in Dada town. How can you? Forget it. As for this matter, there will be a next time. Remember this. I understand, Father. Li Yunju stuck out her tongue mischievously and nodded. Yes. Oh, that's right. Just now, Father instructed Aunt Meng to bring that young man to a courtyard in the suburbs to recuperate. You can take care of him during this period of time. After a while, it will be His Majesty's birthday. At that time, no matter what, you have to express your gratitude, right? As for that young man, you don't have to worry about him. With Auntie Meng here, he will get better. Listening to her father's arrangement, Li Yunju did not refute. She nodded. I understand, Father. Since it's His Majesty's birthday, I naturally have to express my gratitude. After all, His Majesty usually takes good care of me. However, although he appeared calm on the surface, his heart wasn't the same. What's wrong with sending him to the side courtyard? In any case, since he knows me, he'll come back. I have to take care of him to the end. Of course, Li Yunju naturally could not say these words out loud. If he did, the final result might not be what he wanted. Seeing that his daughter was so sensible, Li Yiping nodded with gratification. That's my good daughter. Since that's the case, then Father won't disturb you anymore. After he finished speaking, he waved his hand and turned around to leave. Looking at her father's back view, Li Yunju muttered, the courtyard. Although that place is good, it's too remote. It seems that I have to visit more often in the future. In the suburbs, Auntie Meng brought Lin Rei to the courtyard. After making arrangements for Lin Rei, she left. The courtyard was gone, but there were countless servants. As long as they came regularly to take a look, there would naturally be no problem. However, just like that, 2 years passed. Lin Rei still did not show any signs of waking up. During this period, Li Yunju secretly came to visit many times. Li Yiping came twice. When he saw that Lin Rei was still unconscious, he did not pay any attention to him. He even gave up on him. After 2 years, there were no signs of him waking up. This made Li Yunju, who originally had hope, completely disappointed. Ding! The initial recovery of the body is complete. Host, please check. The system prompt sounded in Lin Rei's mind. In the system space, Lin Rei sat cross-legged on the lake. When he heard the system prompt, a rare smile appeared on his face. The recovery is finally complete. This time, the injuries are too serious. If not for the system, I'm afraid I wouldn't even have the hope of standing up now. With that, his figure disappeared from the system and returned to his body. It's still too difficult. The initial recovery is only to repair my bones, but they are very fragile. If I don't consolidate them, I'm afraid that any ordinary Dao fruit saint will be able to tear me apart. Feeling the situation in his body, Lin Rei could not help but smile bitterly. Thinking of the monster that had injured him, Lin Rei hated it to the bone. After more than 4,000 years, this was the first time he had been injured so seriously. It was so serious that his cultivation had directly dropped by several levels. Looking at his current late-stage Divine Monarch Realm cultivation, Lin Rei smiled bitterly in his heart. Late-stage Divine Monarch Realm cultivation? Sigh, I've suffered a great loss this time. With that, his eyes suddenly opened. A bloodthirsty gaze flashed past. He used his strength and sat up on the bed with both hands. His gaze swept around and looked at everything around him. He was puzzled. What is this place? I didn't look carefully before because I was cultivating. Now that I think about it, this place doesn't seem to be the holy world. Actually, Lin Rei had already awakened. It was just that his soul had been cultivating in the system, so he did not know where he was, let alone what the surrounding environment was like. Now that he had awakened and felt the saint spiritual chi around him, he felt that there was no saint spiritual chi around him. There was not even the lowest level of spiritual chi. There was only some spiritual chi that he did not know about. This spiritual chi was very large, but there was also an indescribable feeling. System, where am I now? Ding! The host is now in the empty underworld realm. Empty underworld realm. Lin Rei was dumbfounded. What was this empty underworld realm? Why had he not heard of it before? Ding! The host's authority is insufficient. Everything within the empty underworld realm cannot be extracted. Please experience it for yourself. Ding! The most important thing for the host now is to recover his cultivation and find a chance to leave this place. Return to the holy world. Of course. The host can treat this place as an instance dungeon. Hearing the system's reply, Lin Rei was stunned. Insufficient authority? Instance dungeon? What the F***ck was this? How could it be insufficient authority? He did not understand. Naturally, it was impossible for him to get anything out of the system. Because of this, Lin Rei could only give up. However, he was curious about this empty underworld realm. After all, this was a place that he had never been to or heard of before. He stood up and waved his hand. A plain robe appeared on his body. He walked to the door and opened it. A glaring ray of sunlight shone into Lin Rei's eyes. Damn, this is killing me. Chapter 1258. Slowly opening his eyes, Lin Fan had already adjusted to the light and his eyes felt much more comfortable. At this moment, Lin Rei could clearly see the scenery in front of him. Although it wasn't extravagant, it was still considered top-notch in the mortal world. I didn't expect to be saved by a tycoon this time. Thinking about his current situation, Lin Rei smiled bitterly and shook his head. Alright, this way, I might be able to understand this so-called empty nether realm through them. Thinking about it, Lin Fan walked out. Although his cultivation base was lowered, he didn't lose it completely. With a single step, he appeared in the front yard. There were people on the road, but Lin Rei's speed wasn't something that mortals could see clearly. Not bad. Feeling the spiritual energy around him, Lin Rei was surprised. Although it was different from the spiritual energy in the holy world and the divine world, it was only slightly weaker. Ding! The spiritual energy here is very helpful for the system to reach the king realm. Ding! Main quest. In the empty nether realm, complete the system's breakthrough to the king realm. Quest reward. Physical body upgrade by 1 realm, Chaos Dragon Spear upgrade by 1 level, 3 chances at the lottery. Damn! This! Lin Rei was dumbfounded. What is this? This is the F***king capital, the capital to become stronger. The 2 rewards this time were much more useful than all the previous rewards. Just by upgrading his physical body by 1 realm, wouldn't that mean that his physical body would reach the Earth Saint realm? Reaching the Earth Saint realm with one's physical body was much more powerful than reaching the Earth Saint realm with one's cultivation base. There were many benefits as well. Anyone would be happy to receive such a thing. Not bad, not bad. It seems like the benefits of leveling up the system are proportional. If this was in the past, let alone upgrading his physical body, even if his cultivation base was upgraded by 1 realm, he would be happy. Ding! Side quest. Help the Emperor escape from danger and help him become a grand champion. Quest reward. The chance to leave the empty nether realm. What? The Emperor? What do you mean? Lin Rei was dumbfounded. He was just praising the system for being more humane during this period of time. In the end, just as he finished praising it, something like this happened. Was it trying to ascend to the heavens? He understood that, according to the words of Planet Aqua Blue, the position of the Emperor could be said to be second only to one person and above everyone else. It could even be said to be on the same level as that person. However, why was it called the king who stood shoulder to shoulder? Where was he? Could it be? He seemed to have thought of something. It was impossible for the system to give out quests for no reason. There had to be some sort of connection. If that was the case, he looked around and started thinking. Xiaolu, have you heard? What? His Highness just gave a greeting at the border, and I heard that His Majesty personally went out to greet him. What an honor! Upon hearing this, Xiaolu's countenance changed. He glanced to the left and right before speaking. Little Blossom, don't talk about it anymore. Didn't you hear? During this period of time, rumors have been spreading in the restaurants in the city, saying that our Highness's achievements are so great that even the Emperor is shocked. Not only that, some of the civil officials have already submitted memorials to the Emperor. Even the military generals are jealous of our Highness's authority, and have also submitted memorials to the Emperor. Hence, let's not talk about this matter anymore in our residence. After all, if people with ulterior motives were to hear about it, I'm afraid it might cause trouble. It's really the Emperor equal. His spiritual sense was focused on the 2 servants, and after hearing their discussion, he understood what was going on. Seems like the quests given by the system are all connected. This time around, the Emperor Equal saved me, and the system wants me to repay his kindness. After thinking about it, a smile appeared on his face. Seems like I have something to do this time around. However, although he was happy, he couldn't forget that his daughter Lin Xian was still waiting for him at home. Would he be able to return in a little more than a year? Also, he didn't know how long he had been unconscious for. If a year had passed, then Xian Host, don't worry. All of a sudden the system spoke. This place is the void underworld realm. Although I can't tell you everything you want to know about this realm, I can tell you the things you are worried about. Yes, that's true. You're very worried about your little girl. However, I can tell you very responsibly that the flow of time here is many times slower than in the Saints' world. Even I am a little shocked when I see it. 100 years here is equivalent to a year in the Holy World, or even longer. So, don't worry and complete the quests here. Take good care of yourself. The rewards for the quests here are extremely abundant. Really? Lin Rei hesitated. Upon hearing Lin Rei's doubt, the system rolled its eyes. Of course, believe in the system and you can obtain eternal life. Scram. Do you think that with this Lord's current lifespan, I still need the word eternal life? System. The system fell silent, but Lin Rei was extremely happy. Ever since the system became humorous, this was the first time he was able to rebuke the system. Haha. Isn't it just helping the Emperor equal to the Emperor complete his quests? Humph. Just you wait. Just you wait until this Lord returns to the Holy World. At that time, you will tremble for this Lord's return. After saying that, he thought of his two daughters and disappeared. When he reappeared, he was behind Xiaolu and Xiaolu. It's inconvenient to stay here. With these people it might be more convenient. Lin Rei thought to himself. When he used his divine sense to check the entire courtyard, he found that there were a total of 37 servants. Half of them were women, and the other half were servants. The two in front of him were the ones in charge of the maids. Two ladies. Ah! Two screams came out from Xiaolu and Xiaolu's mouths as they quickly retreated. The two of them were extremely pitiful at this moment. Their bodies were trembling like frightened rabbits. You are. Xiaohua was still able to react. After she screamed, she raised her head and looked at Lin Rei. The moment she saw Lin Rei's face, she was stunned. She was extremely familiar with this face. Wasn't this the person she had served for 2 years? You're awake? She regained her senses and asked in a weak voice. Yes. This lord wants to thank the two ladies for taking care of this lord during this period of time. I am truly grateful. So, this lord will give the two of you a chance. After saying that, 2 fragrant elixirs suddenly appeared in his hand. He handed it to the two ladies and continued, These 2 elixirs will allow you to become outstanding. It will also allow you to escape the fate of old age and death. Of course, the only side effect is that you will become my subordinates. In this lifetime, you will have to work for this lord. This is a very good deal. You should be very interested in immortality, right? Xiaolu, is this young master stupid? Xiaohua looked at Xiaolu when she saw Lin Rei's actions and couldn't help but ask. Yes, I think so too. How about this? I will call the imperial physician over now. At the same time, I will also call Aunt Meng and the princess over. We will see how this matter is resolved. Okay, you go ahead. I will watch. After saying that, the two of them discussed. Xiaohua stayed behind while Xiaolu hurriedly turned around and left, disappearing from Lin Rei's sight. Heh. Their conversation naturally couldn't be hidden from Lin Rei. Looking at the little girl who left, Lin Rei smiled and didn't mind. In Lin Rei's opinion, the little girl's departure was just because she was not fated with him. His gaze landed on Xiaohua. Looking at her, Lin Rei felt a little more interested. Little girl, that lady just left. It can only mean that you are not fated with her. After thinking for a long time, he continued, This lord knows that you don't believe what I said just now. After saying that, he took a step forward and grabbed Xiaohua's wrist. He said, This lord wants to see where he is. Since that's the case, you will accompany this lord. You will instantly prove that this lord is not lying. Ah, young master, you. Feeling the irresistible force on her wrist, Xiaohua was caught off guard for a moment. She wanted to break free, but, But that hand was too strong. It was like an iron clamp. It was so tight that she couldn't do anything. Whoosh! Although he was in an unfamiliar environment, his cultivation was still there. There was no problem there. Lin Rei's figure instantly disappeared from the spot. As for Xiao Hua, she was naturally carried by Lin Rei. They flew up to 1,000 meters in the air and stood proudly, looking down from the sky. Hey, not bad. This city is quite big. However, Lin Rei felt the situation of the people in the city. After sensing the situation in the bodies of the people in the city, he understood a little. There were also cultivators in the city. However, they cultivated using the spiritual qi of the nether space. As for the cultivation realm, Lin Rei didn't say anything. After all, every place had its own cultivation system. However, according to the cultivation system, the strongest cultivator in the city was only in the out-body realm. Sigh, it seems like this is just an era of magic. Out-body realm cultivators, this. Thinking of his cultivation realm, he felt that he had to use a saint to fight for the emperor equal. If the people of the holy world or the divine world knew about this, they would probably laugh their heads off. A saint had to deal with low-level cultivators to complete his mission and obtain cultivation realm. At the side, Changhua was completely dumbfounded. He stared blankly at the scene below and felt the breeze in the sky. He was extremely shocked. Forget it. Seems like if I want to leave as soon as possible, I have to help the emperor equal to heaven unify the divine world. After saying that, he shook his head. Then, he brought Xiao Hua and disappeared in a flash. When he reappeared, he was at the peak of a mountain. He let go of Xiao Hua's hand and looked at her with interest. He didn't say anything. He wanted to see when this little girl would wake up. Just like that, Lin Rei kept waiting. He was going to take this little girl in. It wasn't just because he didn't have anyone to run errands for him. More importantly, this little girl's spiritual root was very strong. It was a thunder spiritual root. If it was refined, it might be a good treasure. At this moment, in the system space, Ouyang Zhan was sitting cross-legged. He was playing with the dragon scale fish in his hand. Relax, I will get you out of here. Young master. Hearing Lin Li's voice, Ouyang Zhan quivered and instantly jumped up. His eyes scanned the surroundings as if trying to find Lin Li's location. Swoosh. Suddenly, Ouyang Zhan, who was looking left and right, was dazzled. The scene changed. A moment ago, it was a paradise. The next moment, he was at the peak of a mountain. The visual impact made him feel like he was going to collapse. Damn, what is this place? The scene is too lousy. Indeed, Ouyang Zhan wasn't exaggerating. The system space was modified by Lin Rei. It was basically filled with spiritual herbs, although they were low-level ones. Hey you! Seeing Ouyang Zhan complaining, Lin Rei shook his head helplessly. However, in the next moment, his face turned serious. He said, "Feel it carefully. What is different about this place?" This place. Ouyang Zhan released his divine sense and closed his eyes to feel it carefully. However, just as he closed his eyes, he suddenly opened them. He looked at Lin Rei in shock. Young master, this place. Feel it, right? I feel it. The spiritual energy here isn't from the holy world. However, it seems to be nurturing something that even the spiritual energy of the holy world doesn't have. Not bad. You are worth teaching. Hearing Ouyang Zhan's answer, Lin Rei couldn't help but nod his head. This place isn't the holy world. It is a place called the Void Underworld. It seems like my original body was sent to this place by the teleportation array in the space tunnel. Young master, you built a teleportation array in the space tunnel and you even succeeded? Ouyang Zhan was shocked. He didn't know anything before this. Therefore, when he heard Huang Xiaolong's words, he was shocked and even terrified. Let's not talk about this first. I called you out this time because I have something to tell you. After saying that, he pointed at the dazed Xiao Hua in the distance and said, "This sovereign intends to hand this little girl over to you. You can set the conditions. Of course, if you want to accept her as your disciple, this sovereign won't stop you." Ouyang Zhan's gaze followed Lin Rei's gaze and landed on Xiao Hua. Looking at Xiao Hua, Ouyang Zhan was dumbfounded. Although Lin Rei said it so casually, how could he not understand the meaning behind it? Without thinking, he turned around and agreed. Young master, don't worry. Leave this little girl to me. I will definitely nurture her into a cultivator who can shake the world. Very good. Don't worry. This little girl's aptitude is very strong. She has a rare thunder spiritual root and a very high grade. If you work hard, she might surpass you in the future. All right, let's go and take a look first. It's not certain if she will accept you. After saying that, he stood up and brought Ouyang Zhan to Xiao Hua's side. He waved his hand and pulled her back to reality. Little girl, now you believe that this sovereign didn't lie to you. Xiao Hua came back to her senses and looked at Lin Rei. Instinctively, she was in awe of Lin Rei. However, under the awe there was more fear. Don't worry. This sovereign won't teach you personally. After saying that, he gestured to Ouyang Zhan. This is this sovereign's subordinate. His cultivation is very high. Even if you want the stars in the sky, it won't be a problem. You just have to tell him. This sovereign only has one request. Absolute strength and loyalty. Chapter 1259. Little girl, you should know my young master's strength. As long as my young master wants to, he can destroy all living things in the world at any time. Don't you feel great to have such power? You can enjoy the respect and admiration of the mortal world. Come, join us and become my disciple. That way, you will enjoy unprecedented benefits. You will also be immortal and live as long as the heavens and earth. Ouyang Zhan's words were extravagant. Then, he stretched out his hand and handed it to Xiao Hua. Give me your hand and you will get all my skills. By the side, Lin Li treated it as if he was watching a show and did not open his mouth. But towards Ouyang Zhan's flowery mouth appearance, he only felt that it was funny. Be immortal? Be immortal? Are you kidding me? He hadn't even reached immortality yet. Even a Tao reunion sage might not be able to live as long as the heavens and earth. At every level, one's lifespan would increase with the increase in cultivation. After reaching the Tao reunion realm, one's lifespan would become a string of numbers. As for how long one could live, even the person involved wouldn't know. However, Ouyang Zhan's words were completely different in Xiao Hua's ears. After all, she was immortal and didn't have such a broad vision. She believed in being immortal and having the same lifespan as the heavens and earth. Especially after seeing Lin Rei's ability just now, she was even more convinced. She couldn't give up such a good opportunity in front of her. Thinking about the days when she was treated as a servant, although she didn't have to worry about food and clothing, it wasn't what she wanted after all. Plop. Looking at Ouyang Zhan, Xiao Hua knelt on the ground and kowtowed. Xiao Hua greets master. Ha ha. Lin Rei laughed. The matter was done. Originally, he just wanted to control her. However, when he thought of her cultivation and how much Ouyang Zhan cared about him, he changed his mind. Now, it seemed that this idea wasn't bad. It was Ouyang Zhan's good fortune to have such a talented disciple. Looking at the kowtowing little blossom, Ouyang Zhan smiled. There was nothing he could do about it. Thinking back to his previous life, other than scheming against each other, he was fighting for more cultivation resources for his people. He had never thought about having a disciple before. With a wave of his hand, a gust of pure Saint Spirit Qi rushed out and transformed into a gentle hand that lifted Xiao Hua up. Little Blossom, what a joke. Not good. Your name doesn't sound good. Since you're my disciple now, you can't use that name anymore. After saying that, Ouyang Zhan fell into deep thought. On the other hand, Flowery looked indifferent. This name had accompanied her since she was young, so she didn't care. He did not say anything, just stood there quietly, waiting for Ouyang Zhan to speak again. Got it. After a long while, Ouyang Zhan came back to his senses. He looked at Little Blossom with a smile and said, Since you've decided to follow me, I'll give you the surname Ouyang. Ouyang. Ouyang Ting. Ting as in graceful and beautiful. From today onwards, your name shall be Ouyang Ting. Ouyang Ting. Ouyang Ting muttered this name to herself. Instantly, a smile appeared on her face. Clearly, she liked this name very much. Thank you for the name, master. Ouyang Ting kowtowed and thanked him. Yes, that's settled. There's still a way to address him. Address? Ouyang Ting was puzzled. She did not understand what he meant. Yes, that's right. Addressing someone was very important in the holy world, especially when it came to addressing someone as master. It was even more important. On the side, Lin Rei was the same. He understood what Ouyang Zhang meant, so he didn't say anything. Looking at Ouyang Ting, Ouyang Zhang said, "Little Ting, in my domain, disciples don't address their masters like this. They address them as master. This is very important. So, from today onwards, you'll address me as master. Also, my name is Ouyang Zhang. I'm the patriarch of the Ouyang clan in the Yellow Region Sea City of the Holy World." Holy World? Yellow Region? Sea City? Ouyang clan? Unfamiliar names appeared one after another. Ouyang Ting searched through her memories and the map of the empty underworld domain, but she couldn't find this place. Yes, it's... Seeing that his new disciple didn't understand, Ouyang Zhang wanted to explain. "All right, you can explain this matter yourself in the future. The girl who left before seems to have returned. So, your previous master must have noticed that I'm no longer here. So, it's time for us to leave." As he spoke, he looked at Ouyang Zhang and said, "During this period of time, you have to quickly let your disciple enter the ranks of cultivators. Remember, you can't use those medicinal pills to increase cultivation. If you want your little disciple to become a true expert, then do as I say and polish him well. Otherwise, don't blame me if this piece of unpolished jade ends up being wasted." "Yes, young master. This subordinate understands," Ouyang Zhang guaranteed. "All right, let's go. We still have to walk around the city. This sovereign wants to see if this place is different from the holy world." Swoosh. Then, without waiting for Ouyang Zhang and Ouyang Ting to react, he quickly rushed out towards the huge object in the distance. Looking at Lin Rei's departing figure, Ouyang Zhang smiled bitterly. He turned his head to look at his dumbfounded disciple and sighed inwardly. "Seems like after returning to the holy world, I have to bring her out more often. Otherwise, if she's so ignorant every time, it would be terrible." After making his decision, he grabbed Ouyang Ting's hand and said softly, "Let's go too." Then, Ouyang Zhang brought Ouyang Ting and chased after Lin Rei. Ouyang Ting also stepped into the air again. Heavenly King City. In front of the city gate, Lin Rei and the other two slowly walked over. Looking at the city of the mortal world, they were filled with emotions. In the holy world there was no such city. Of course, it wasn't because it was huge. It was because compared to the cities in the holy world, this city was too small. In the sacred world, any low-level demonic beast would have some divine realm cultivation. If the sacred world was a city like the Heavenly King of Hong, then the sacred world would have long become the world of demonic beasts, and that place would still be ruled by humans. "Let's go." With that, Lin Rei and the other two stepped into the capital and blended in. With Lin Rei's arrival, it was destined that the capital would no longer be peaceful. "Young master, find an inn and pay attention. I'll go take a look and see if I can find the entire map of the Nether Void region. At the same time, I'll ask around about the Nether Void region and see if it'll be of any help to our return to the holy world." "All right, go ahead." Lin Rei didn't stop him and waved his hand to let him leave. After Ouyang Zhang left, Ouyang Ting followed beside Lin Rei carefully without saying anything. "Little Ting, you should be very familiar with this place. Find me a good inn." Yes, young master." Chapter 1260. In the outskirts of Heavenly King City, a group of people, both men and women, hurried over. They dismounted from their horses and walked through the gate. "Greetings, Your Highness and Princess." After entering the gate, 5 guards knelt on the ground and kowtowed to Li Jiping and Li Yunju. Get up." Li Jiping waved his hand and the 5 guards stood up. They came to Li Jiping's side and stood there without saying a word. "Xiaolu, lead the way. I want to see who this young man is. He has been unconscious for 2 years and is able to get off the ground as soon as he wakes up. Moreover, Ling Ren is as good as you said." "Yes, Your Highness." "Xiaolu." If Lin Li was here, he would definitely know that this was the girl who had missed out on a life-changing opportunity. The girl walked out and led Li Jiping's group to the room that Li Jiping had previously stayed in. However, when they entered the room and saw that it was empty, their expressions changed. "Impossible, impossible. It's clearly... Could it be that he is in the courtyard?" Xiaolu could not make up her mind. She turned to Li Jiping and told him her guess. Li Jiping mobilized everyone in the courtyard to search. But after 2 hours, the entire monastery, every room, every nook and cranny had been searched. But in the end, there was no one there. There was no sign of Linley at all. What made them even more confused was that if Lin Rei had left, why did he bring a maid with him? In the hall, Li Jiping sat at the head of the table. Li Yunju sat at the side. Aunt Meng and Fan Jun were at the side. In the middle, Xiaolu knelt on the ground. Tears flowed down her face. Looking at Xiaolu, Li Jiping asked. This matter was very strange. He had to ask clearly. Xiaolu, tell me what that young man did and said after he woke up. That's right, Xiaolu. Hurry up and tell me. Xiaohua might be in that person's hands. Li Yunju said hurriedly. She liked Little Blossom a lot and they talked about everything. Therefore, she blamed herself for Little Blossom's disappearance. Hearing everyone's questions, Xiaolu raised her head and looked at everyone's expectant gazes. She sobbed and said, Your Highness, miss, this servant was with Little Blossom before, but that young master who had been in a coma for 2 years suddenly woke up and said he would give us an opportunity to repay us for taking care of him for 2 years. As he spoke, young deer blurted out everything that Lin Rei had told him. He didn't try to hide anything. In the blink of an eye, a quarter of an hour passed. Everyone was confused, especially when they heard that the young man wanted to give Xiaolu and Xiaolu a type of immortality pill that would allow them to transcend the mortal world. Everyone was stunned, subconsciously wondering if the young man had gone crazy after sleeping for 2 years. However, Li Jiping was the only one who had a calm expression from the beginning to the end. However, waves were surging in his heart and he was no longer calm. He knew a thing or two about the secrets of a country's king. Perhaps others didn't think there was such a pill in this world, but he was different. Not only did he believe in it, but he was also looking for people. The other party was definitely a cultivator. At this moment, he looked at Xiaolu with a bit of pity and regret. That's right, if she had agreed back then, the ending would have been different. If it had been him back then, he probably would have agreed without hesitation. The path of cultivation was something he greatly desired. Although his current cultivation base wasn't low, without a true cultivator, it wasn't even worth mentioning. After pondering for a long time, Li Jiping regained his senses and looked at Xiaolu kneeling on the ground. He sighed and waved his hand. You can get up. After saying that, he looked at everyone and continued, If you see Little Blossom in the future, you must remember not to treat him like a normal person. You must be polite. As for Little Blossom, just pretend he never existed. In the future, no one will pursue this matter. As for that young man, if he leaves, then he leaves. He's not someone from the same world as us. However, when Fan Jun and the others heard Li Jiping's words, it did not sound the same as what Li Jiping had said. It sounded completely different. Their thoughts were the complete opposite of what Li Jiping had said. Li Jiping wasn't sure about this. All right, that's all for now. You can all disperse. After saying that, he turned and walked out, leaving everyone confused. Humph, ungrateful thing. My princess saved him. Now that he's awake, not only did he not repay her kindness, he left without a word. What's the meaning of this? That's right. You don't know how to repay kindness. When you saved him back then, you didn't expect him to be such a person. Fan Jun complained. Humph. When I said I wouldn't save him back then, what did you say? You even objected. Now look, I saved an ungrateful wretch. Are you satisfied now? The two started their daily quarrel. At the side, Li Yunju listened to their quarrel. She was sad because of Lin Rei's departure. Now, she couldn't stand their quarrel. All right, both of you are in the majority. Why are you still quarreling? After saying that, she turned and left, leaving the two of them with an awkward back view. It's all your fault. Great. The princess is angry. Let's see how you deal with this. You're blaming me. It's all your fault. You keep quarreling with me. Can't you give in to me a little? The two of them fell silent and stopped quarreling. Instead, they were a little embarrassed. After a long silence, the two of them turned and left, ignoring each other. In Scenery Garden in Heavenly King City, Lin Rei sat at the dining table. Ouyang Ting stood behind Lin Rei out of habit. This action made Lin Rei feel helpless. Little Ting, you are no longer a servant. You are Ouyang Zhen's disciple. In the future you will become a strong cultivator. So, As he said that, he pointed at the seat beside him and said, "Go over there and sit down. Let the Empress have a good meal." How can this be? Ouyang Ting shook her head quickly and retreated in shock. Why not? Lin Rei knew her thoughts very well. After entering the cultivation world, he often saw this. However, he didn't have such thoughts. In his opinion, Ouyang Zhan was his subordinate, and Ouyang Ting was Ouyang Zhan's disciple. This was naturally acceptable. No, young master, listen to me. Ouyang Zhan is my subordinate, and you are Ouyang Zhan's disciple. Therefore, you should listen to me. Therefore, my orders are greater than anything else. If I ask you to sit down obediently. Don't think too much about it. After saying that, he reached out his hand. Suddenly, an uncontrollable force appeared and affected Ouyang Ting. She couldn't control herself. Her body uncontrollably moved to the seat beside Lin Rei and sat down. At this moment, Ouyang Ting still felt like she was in a dream. She had never received such treatment before. She didn't even dare to think about it. Could it be that I have really changed my fate? Chapter 1261. After you settle down, take this and ask your master to give you a cultivation technique. Then you can raise your cultivation level. As for the problem of your Tao foundation, I will choose a body cultivation technique for you after this period of time. You can patch up the holes in your cultivation. After that, the problem of cultivation will be solved. Oh, right. He seemed to have thought of something and continued. Do you have any family here? Or do you have any relatives? Ouyang Ting was silent. Tears appeared in her eyes for some reason. She looked away and looked out of the window. What's wrong? Sigh, I don't have any relatives. My mother has passed away. As for my father. She paused and her tone turned cold. As for my father, it doesn't matter whether I have him or not. Back then, it was because my father went to second mother and was instigated by second mother to sell me. If it wasn't for Princess Yunju, I'm afraid that I would be living a life worse than death or already dead. At this point, she could no longer hold back her tears. They flowed down her face uncontrollably. Looking at the tearful Ouyang Ting, Lin Rei sighed in his heart. There wasn't much benefit in this matter. In the world of cultivation, such things often happened. To mortals, cultivators were gods. They were people who could control their lives. In the world of cultivation, as long as a cultivator wanted to, they could destroy a city and wipe out the people in the city. As for the royal family of the mortal world, as long as they were given the corresponding benefits, this matter could be left unsettled. Of course, even if they wanted to pursue the matter, they had to consider their own abilities and whether they could contend against the royal family. Sigh. He patted Ouyang Ting's shoulder and comforted her. All right, this kind of thing will not happen in the future. The current you is different from the past. Even if the emperor of this world is in front of you, as long as you are unhappy, your master can destroy the entire heavenly King Hong with a single slap. Of course. Once you enter the world of cultivation, there is no turning back. You are destined to fight for it. Moreover, the world of cultivation is different from other places. It is even crueler than the mortal world. When it comes to killing and arson, the strong are respected, and the fittest survive. Only when you have enough strength can you guarantee your own survival. Therefore, in the future when you face enemies, kill them. If your enemy doesn't rise or is about to be killed by you, but you feel pity for them and want to let them go, then the final result may be your death. At this moment, Lin Rei's expression was very serious, just like a teacher teaching his disciple. Remember, as long as it's an enemy, regardless of whether they're male or female, old or young, kill them. In the face of those who can threaten your life and are hostile to you, as long as you discover that they have done something unfavorable to you or have unfavorable thoughts toward you, kill them. In short, other than your family and friends, you have to be vigilant everywhere. Or you can put it this way. In the entire world of cultivation, other than yourself, everyone else can harm you, including your best friends, relatives and lovers. Listening to Lin Rei's teachings, Ouyang Ting fell silent. Previously, she had thought that her life had changed, but after hearing these words, she suddenly felt that the cultivation circle seemed to be even more complicated and ruthless than the one she had lived in before. I understand, young master. Ouyang Ting regained her senses and nodded heavily. She had already made a decision in her heart. Since she had stepped on this road of no return, there was no possibility of turning back. She could only forge a path that belonged to her. And remember your limits. There's still a lot of time in the future. You'll understand that what I said today wasn't excessive at all. In the future, you'll even see the ugliness of people's hearts. This will be far more painful than your previous life. After saying this, Lin Rei didn't say anything else. She had just stepped into the world of cultivation. If he said too much, he was afraid that Ouyang Ting would lose her heart to continue. However, what made Lin Rei slightly surprised was that in Ouyang Ting's eyes, there wasn't the slightest bit of decadence or retreat. There was only determination, an extremely resolute expression. Not bad. This child, if she can rise perhaps in the future, she will be an existence that can become a strong expert. Lin Rei was very satisfied with Ouyang Ting, especially her resolute eyes and her talent. More importantly, she was now in the best period of cultivation. Therefore, Lin Rei believed in his own eyes. Young master, my honored master, he. Changing the topic, Ouyang Ting thought of her own honored master and asked. Ignore him. He has his own things to do. He'll be back in a while. The most important thing now is to finish eating. Go to your room and take the pills. Wait until you reach the foundation establishment stage. After saying this, he waved his hand and the waiter walked over from afar. Both of you, what can I do for you? The waiter stood still and asked. Looking at the waiter, Lin Rei asked, when will the dishes we order be served? How long has it been? Hearing this, the waiter was stunned. He quickly smiled and said, both of you, please don't panic. I'll go down and rush them. Please wait a moment. Please wait a moment. Go, hurry up. He waved his hand and dismissed the waiter. At the side, Ouyang Ting was naturally a little restless. After all, although she had been to such a high-end restaurant before, she had never thought that she would sit down and eat like the host. The sudden change made her a little uncomfortable. After all, her life had been like this for more than 10 years. Now that it was suddenly changed, anyone would find it hard to accept. She needed time to adjust. Lin Rei understood Ouyang Ting's uneasiness. He looked at the people around him and then looked at the coarse clothes of Ouyang Ting's servants. He frowned and his eyes lit up. He remembered that the clothes and accessories that Xianer had asked him to refine were still in the storage ring. Little Ting, I have some clothes and accessories for girls. Go to a room and change into them before coming back. After saying this, a set of clothes and accessories appeared in Lin Rei's hand and he handed it to Ouyang Ting. Looking at the beautiful clothes and accessories, Ouyang Ting was stunned. To be honest, she didn't dare to accept them. However, thinking that she was no longer a servant in her status, she gritted her teeth and agreed. I understand, young master. She reached out to take them and walked away. After seeing Ouyang Ting leave, Lin Rei's gaze fell on the street outside the window. Looking at the people coming and going in the heavy traffic, Lin Rei fell into deep thought. He still didn't know what to do with the mission issued by the system. At the same time, he felt that the mission issued by the system this time was a little too simple. To help a prince unify a mortal country and overcome difficulties, this was a piece of cake for him. However, was the system really giving such a mission to him? Or perhaps there was another meaning in this mission. Chapter 1262. In front of the city gates of Heavenly King City, there was a group of people dressed in commoner clothes. However, from the way they stood, it could be seen that they were elite soldiers from the military camp. Today, all of you only have one mission. Find me one person in the capital. No, two people. A man and a woman. The woman is Xiao Hua from the capital. She's the young man who was rescued by the princess. The person who spoke was Fan Jun. After returning to the imperial city, he felt that he could not take it lying down. In the end, he gathered his subordinates and caused this scene. He turned his head to indicate something at the side. He took out dozens of portraits of Lin Rei and said, "These are the portraits of that young man. Find him, tie him up and send him to the imperial city." Do you all understand? When everyone heard Fan Jun's words, they straightened their backs and said loudly, "Understood." Then each of you can take one. After saying that, he turned around and went to Aunt Meng, who was not far away. He said, "Just wait. I want to see what kind of person that young man is. He is so ungrateful." And Little Blossom. She doesn't care about the kindness the Imperial City has shown her over the years. She would rather leave with a stranger who has been unconscious for 2 years. Humph, don't let me see her. If I see her, I will let her know that there is a price to pay for betraying the Imperial City. This price will be unforgettable for her. Looking at Fan Jun, a trace of worry flashed across Aunt Meng's eyes. Fan Jun, do you think this is a good idea? What? Fan Jun turned his head to look. Your Highness hasn't said anything. If we do this privately, wouldn't it be too reckless? Moreover. As she said that, she reached out and pointed at the dozens of people. She continued, these are all from the military. If someone with ulterior motives finds out that our Imperial City has mobilized the military without permission and reports this to His Majesty, our Imperial City will be in danger. Fan Jun was silent. Indeed, the Imperial City was at the center of the storm. If something happened, it would arouse His Majesty's sympathy. After all, the Imperial City's achievements were so high that it shocked His Majesty. If they mobilized the military without permission, it would arouse His Majesty's suspicion. However, when he thought about the confidentiality of this matter, he immediately felt relieved. From the beginning to the end, he had been dealing with this matter with a fluke heart. He waved his hand and said confidently, it's fine. Don't worry. As long as we find that kid, these people will immediately return to the army without delay. Don't worry. After saying this, he gave her a reassuring smile. Regarding this, Aunt Meng understood that it was already too late for her to say anything. The dozens of soldiers had already left. Sigh, let's hope so. Shaking his head, he turned around and left. At this moment, Lin Rei, who was in the restaurant, didn't know that Fan Jun had sent people to search the capital because of his departure. In the restaurant, Lin Rei was still looking out of the window with nothing to do. Now he couldn't go back. The only thing he could do was to complete the mission so that he could have a breakthrough later. Young master. Just as Lin Rei was pondering silently, Ouyang Zhen's voice sounded from the side, pulling Lin Rei back to reality from his contemplation. He turned his head and looked at Ouyang Zhen. A smile appeared on his face as he said, sit down. Let's talk about that matter. Yes. Ouyang Zhen replied and sat down. He took a sip of water and said seriously, young master, just now I went to look for a map of the empty netherworld. Unfortunately, there is no map of the entire empty netherworld. There are only maps of the surrounding empires. As for the empires outside of those empires, there is nothing. The news brought by Ouyang Zhen really surprised Lin Rei. An empire without a map of the empty netherworld. What surprised him even more was that the empty netherworld seemed to be under the control of an empire. In here, he didn't hear anything about the sect. Could it be that the empty netherworld was really different from the holy world and the divine world? Young master, let's put this matter aside for now. The most important thing now is the Emperor's Equal King Mansion. What happened? Hearing about the Emperor's Equal King Mansion, Lin Rei became even more serious. After all, as long as he completed the mission, he could leave the empty netherworld and return to the holy world. More importantly, he could break through his cultivation. This was very important to him. Right now, the entire Emperor's Equal King Mansion was under his protection. Seeing Lin Rei so serious, Ouyang Zhen was shocked. He understood that this matter was very important to Lin Rei. He said seriously, the Emperor's name is Li Zhiping, and he has a daughter named Li Yunzhu. In these years, Li Zhiping's achievements have shaken the Emperor. The imperial court is very hostile to him. Moreover, I heard that the Emperor of Hongtian wants to seize power from him. Is that so? Thinking about the mission given by the system, Lin Rei became serious. Although he knew that there were no strong cultivators here, he still couldn't underestimate them. Ouyang Zhen, after you help Xiao Ting break through to the Foundation establishment realm, go and intimidate those officials who are a threat to the Emperor's Equal King Mansion. Tell them that if they dare to go against the Emperor's Equal King Mansion, they will have to pay a price they can't afford. Of course, when appropriate, exterminate a few families to intimidate them. As the saying goes, knock the mountain to scare the tiger. This sovereign doesn't want to appear early for these ants. Do you understand? The follower didn't know why Lin Rei wanted to care about the matters of the mortal world, but he didn't dare to disobey Lin Rei's orders. He nodded and replied, understood, young master. After saying that, he looked around. Young master, why didn't I see my disciple? Don't worry, she went to change her clothes. Understanding Ouyang Zhen's worries, he said, as a cultivator, not to mention a half-sage disciple, dressing is very important. This sovereign doesn't want her to embarrass you. After saying that, he looked around and saw a beautiful figure standing at the door. Lin Rei was stunned and smiled bitterly. I didn't expect this girl to be a real beauty. I didn't notice her before. Your disciple is here. After saying that, he pointed at Ouyang Ting's direction. Turning his head, he looked at the direction Lin Rei pointed. When he saw Ouyang Ting, he was stunned. F***ck, this? Looking at his disciple, Ouyang Zhen felt like he was dreaming. The previous Xiao Hua could be said to be a country bumpkin. But now, after changing her clothes, she was completely different. In their eyes, they were used to seeing those ethereal beauties. When they saw the tattered clothes of the mortal world, they naturally couldn't stand it. But now, Ouyang Ting changed into the clothes given by Lin Rei. Naturally, it gave them a different feeling. Can't you be more reserved? Your saliva will come out. Looking at Ouyang Zhen's current appearance, Lin Rei shook his head helplessly. However, to be honest, Ouyang Ting's appearance in the holy world was comparable to the holy ladies in the holy world. It wasn't an exaggeration. Isn't this because my disciple is too beautiful? I couldn't help it. Chapter 1263. Master, young master. Arriving in front of Lin Rei and Ouyang Ting smiled shyly and bowed. Not bad at all. I didn't expect you to be so beautiful after changing into this set of clothes. TSK. Yes. Ouyang Zhen did not hide his joy at all. He praised, shouting, your appearance is one of the best in the saints' world. Even the holy maiden of a sacred ground can compare to you. However, your cultivation is a little lacking. Of course, that's not important. As long as young master is here, it's only a matter of time before you catch up with the Holy Land's holy maiden. Then, he pointed to the seat beside him and said, sit down. After eating, master will help you build your foundation. After that, you can step on the path of cultivation. And got it. Ouyang Ting smiled and sat down. At this time, the dishes were served. Okay, let's eat. After that, the three fell into silence and began to eat. Ouyang Ting looked at the dishes on the table and her eyes were wet. These were things she didn't even dare to think about in the past. At most, she would let the servants eat the leftovers after the master finished eating. The three of them ate for a long time. Of course, the most important thing was for Ouyang Ting. On the way, Lin Rei kept ordering dishes. If it weren't for the fact that he couldn't eat, Lin Rei would have ordered all the dishes in the restaurant so that Ouyang Ting could eat them all. Young master, I'll bring little Ting in first. After eating, Lin Rei looked at his seat with satisfaction and rubbed his stomach. He nodded and replied, go. Remember, your disciple's talent is very good. Don't waste it. Hearing this, Ouyang Zhen quickly nodded and understood. Don't worry, young master. I won't treat my disciple unfairly. As long as I know something, I will teach it to her. This way, when we go out, I will be proud of myself. Okay, go. He waved his hand and dismissed the two. Yes, young master. We'll take our leave first. After saying that, the two of them bowed and cupped their hands in salute before leaving. Looking at the departing figures of the two, he shook his head with a bitter smile. His heart was filled with endless melancholy. Now that he had been out for so long, he wondered how his wife and children were doing. In the saints' world, he was worried about his family. There were plenty of powerful beings in the saints' world. If it were not for the fact that his sect had a few saints, he really would not feel at ease leaving. Third brother, look. Doesn't that person look like the person in the portrait that the commander gave us? Where? Old San turned his head and looked in the direction his friend was pointing. However, when he saw Lin Rei sitting by the window, his eyes widened. F***ck. It's true. Third brother was excited. What was this? This was his F***king chance to earn some merit. As he thought about this, he turned to look at his companion and instructed, you stay here and keep watch. I'll go get my brothers with the same name. Remember, you must keep an eye on them. This time, the opportunity to make a contribution is in our hands. Don't worry, you'll do it. The word render meritorious service was like a clap of thunder in the ears of these soldiers. In the army, it was extremely difficult for a small soldier to render meritorious service and be promoted. Therefore, this opportunity to render meritorious service was very important to them. Keep an eye on them. After saying that, Old San rushed out of the restaurant and walked towards the city gate. According to their previous agreement, Fan Jun was currently waiting in front of the city gate. After seeing Old San leave, the man sat down at the table closest to the door. His gaze swept over Lin Rei from time to time. In his opinion, he had already done his best to conceal himself. However, who asked him to meet Lin Rei? When he came in and spoke to Old San, Lin Rei had already noticed the two of them. Furthermore, Lin Rei heard everything that they said. His divine sense locked onto the man and he sneered in his heart. I don't think I have offended anyone. Who is this person? Why does he have my portrait? Also, what the hell is a commander? Lin Rei did not make a move. He wanted to see who was the person who dared to make a move against him. As the person involved, he wanted to see who he had offended. Fortunately, this was not the saint's world. Fortunately, Lin Wanyu and the others were not with him. Otherwise, the scene when you came down would not be as peaceful as it is now. It would definitely be bloody and terrifying. Especially Lin Wanyu. She would not listen to anyone's explanation. As long as someone dared to have any thoughts about Lin Rei, they would be courting death. In front of the city gate, Fan Jun looked at the chilling city wall. He held something that looked like licorice in his mouth and hummed a tune. Although it was unpleasant to hear, no one dared to make a sound. Commander, Commander. Old San came to the city gate and his gaze locked onto Fan Jun. He was so excited that he did not care about the people around him and directly shouted, "Shit!" Fan Jun, who was originally leisurely, heard this shout and his heart jumped. His expression changed and he stood up to stop the soldier who shouted. Looking at the person who came, Fan Jun waved his hand and said, "Don't do it. If you have something to say, say it. Don't call me commander. Are you afraid that people don't know you are a soldier?" Old San, who came to the front, was stunned when he heard Fan Jun's words. He turned around and told him about his encounter with Lin Rei. "Commander, I just met the person you asked us to find in the restaurant. I was too excited and did not control myself." "What?" Fan Jun exclaimed and said excitedly. You found that person? And in the restaurant?" Commander, didn't you say to be quiet? Why did you change your mind?" Old San muttered softly. "Go away." Looking at Old San, Fan Jun kicked him and said unhappily, "I am me. We are not the same. Hurry up and lead the way. Let's go find that bastard. This time, I must loosen his muscles and broaden his horizons. I must make him remember that he must repay kindness and not be a heartless person." Yes, Commander is right. Old San agreed. "Let's go. We will inform the brothers as we go." Old San led the way while Fan Jun followed behind. They used a special method to send a message to the brothers who were scattered to gather. "So it's you." In the restaurant, Lin Rei, who was sitting at the table, smiled disdainfully. The image that appeared in his mind was naturally Fan Jun. When Old San left, Lin Rei activated his divine sense and followed Old San. Finally, he saw Fan Jun. He did not recognize Fan Jun. However, from Fan Jun's figure, he must be a soldier who had fought in the battlefield. Otherwise, he would not have such a strong killing intent. TSK. Interesting. Chapter 1264. Time passed slowly. Lin Rei drank his wine as he waited for Fan Jun and the rest to arrive. 15 minutes passed, and the figures of Fan Jun's group remained within Lin Li's divine sense. Fan Jun's group grew larger and larger, from the original 2 to 35. Finally, they arrived at the entrance to the restaurant. Looks like I can have some fun. Looking around at the people eating, drinking, chatting and laughing, a smile appeared on his face. With a wave of his hand, a formation appeared within 1,000 meters. With this illusion formation and trap formation, let's see how you can escape. With that thought, he stood up and walked towards the man who was watching him from the restaurant. The man had been staring at Lin Rei. When he saw Lin Rei standing up and walking towards him, his heart trembled. He shouldn't be here for me, right? He felt that it was impossible, but in the end, things didn't go as he wished. When Lin Rei stood in front of him, he realized that he had been discovered long ago. He stood up and retreated. Looking at Lin Rei warily, he spoke. Young master, I wonder. Stop pretending. You came to find this sovereign, and now you want to ask this sovereign how it is. Don't you think it's ridiculous? Looking at the man, Lin Rei laughed. You. The man was shocked. Of course, it wasn't just because he discovered his existence. More importantly, it was because he called himself this sovereign. In Hongtian Empire, only the highest-ranking emperor would call himself emperor. Yet, the man in front of him called himself this sovereign. Just this title alone was enough to make him understand a lot of things. Don't be shocked, Lin Rei waved his hand and continued with a smile. This sovereign will give you a chance to live. To tell you the truth, I have sealed off everything within a radius of 1,000 meters. Your role is to inform your true master. If you don't want all of his subordinates to die, then come here and personally take them back. Otherwise, killing intent flashed across his eyes. You. Feeling Lin Rei's murderous aura, his body trembled and he backed away in fear. Finally, he leaned against the door frame and looked at the man in front of him with a pale face. Just an aura is enough to do this. If we really fight, then. The man shook his head and didn't dare to think further. He was afraid, terrified. All right, hurry up and leave. Remember, find your true master because, he pointed outside and said, your commander is already here. So, you have to hurry up. Otherwise, this sovereign is afraid that my hands will itch and kill all those people. At that time, it won't be this sovereign's fault. Go. Before the man could finish speaking, Lin Rei waved his hand, and a pure Holy Spirit chi rushed out, instantly enveloping the man and throwing him out. This time, the real game had begun. Looking outside, the 35 people stood still and locked their gazes on the door. Looks like it's getting more and more fun. With that, Lin Rei stepped out of the door and sat on the doorframe. His gaze locked onto the leader, Fan Jun, and he smiled. Little guy, I don't know why you're looking for this sovereign. You. Seeing Lin Rei's appearance, Fan Jun was startled and a wave of anger surged in his heart. Ingrate, you still have the nerve to say that? Hearing Fan Jun's words, Lin Rei was stunned. Ingrate. This was the first time he heard someone call him that after so many years. In the past, those people would either call him the devil or the demon emperor. This was the first time he was called an ingrate. However, Lin Rei admired his courage. An ant that could be killed with a spit at any time, dared to speak such arrogant words. With a thought, a bottle of wine appeared in his hand out of thin air. He poured it into his mouth and said with interest, Come, tell me, how did this ingrate come about? This sovereign seems to remember that it hasn't been long since I came to this world. Before this sovereign was in a coma. You really make this sovereign a little confused. This sovereign? Hee, boasting shamelessly. Do you want to have your entire family annihilated? This time, Fan Jun wasn't afraid of others knowing because this sovereign was enough to make him send out his troops. Annihilate my entire family. Not bad. You're right about annihilating my entire family. However, raising his head, the killing intent in his eyes became more intense. Within a radius of 1,000 meters, the temperature dropped to the freezing point. This time, Lin Rei's killing intent was aroused. This was because the words of these ants had touched his reverse scale. Not to mention whether you can annihilate this sovereign's family. Even this sovereign's youngest son can annihilate the entire Hongtian Empire by himself. As for you, from your words, when you mentioned this sovereign's family, your life is not inferior to yours. As he spoke, he raised his hand and pointed his index finger at the man beside Fan Jun. Instantly, a white light shot out. Puchi! Plop! With a strange sound, the man that Lin Rei pointed his finger at suddenly fell to the ground. A bloody hole as thick as a finger appeared on the man's forehead. Red and white light gushed out from the bloody hole. Take this as the interest for your impertinent words. Don't worry, this matter isn't over yet. They will die one by one because of what you said just now. You will be the last one to die. However, before that, this sovereign will not be in a hurry to kill all of you. This is such a fun matter. If you don't wait for your master, wouldn't you miss out on a good show? You demon, you actually. Fan Jun was dumbfounded. He felt extremely shocked and guilty towards his dead brother. With regards to Linley's methods, he was shocked. Linley had remained calm and collected, sitting far away, yet he had been able to kill someone with a wave of his hand. What sort of methods was this? The guilt he felt towards his brother was even more intense. If he didn't speak up, his brother wouldn't have such an ending. Demon. TSK. Not bad. This sovereign likes this name. However, this is not enough. Because, you will soon understand what a real demon is. After he finished speaking, without waiting for everyone to regain their senses, he waved his hand and the formation that he set up earlier was activated. What is going on? Why is there fog in broad daylight? The appearance of the formation changed drastically. In broad daylight, the dense fog instantly enveloped everyone present. When this scene appeared, Fan Jun subconsciously thought of Lin Rei's action of waving his hand. Could it be? No, impossible. How can he possess such strength? He didn't believe that a human could possess such strength. His divine sense locked onto Fan Jun, who was in the formation, and smiled. Little guy, have fun. I believe that you will have a lot of fun. Chapter 1265. The man who had been released by Linley hurriedly rushed in. The guards at the gate didn't stop him, because they had all seen this man before and knew him. He was a centurion in the army and had been to the capital before. They had a deep impression of him. Aren't you Lu Wei? Just as Lu Wei rushed into the mansion, Li Yunju walked over from afar. Li Yunju was stunned when she saw Lu Wei. A centurion should be training in the army at this time. Furthermore, a centurion wasn't allowed to leave the barracks without orders from his superiors. Furthermore, he was in her home. If someone reported him, the consequences would be unimaginable. Princess! How could he not recognize Li Yunju? Looking at Li Yunju, Lu Wei felt as if he had seen a life-saving straw. He stepped forward and knelt in front of Li Yunju. Princess, please bring this subordinate to see His Highness. Time is of the essence. If we don't hurry, this subordinate is afraid that the commander's life will be in danger. What danger? What commander? What are you trying to say? Li Yunju frowned. She had seen Lu Wei's anxious look, but the things he said were all jumbled up and out of nowhere. He even said that he wanted to see her imperial father. Princess, Commander Fan Jun. Commander Fan Jun brought more than 30 people with him today. He gave each of them a portrait and ordered us to search for him in the capital. Just earlier, this subordinate found that person. However, who would have thought? Who would have thought that that person was extremely powerful? Merely his aura caused this subordinate to feel an unforgettable feeling. That dense killing intent, that despair-inducing coldness. This subordinate saw a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood. As for that young man, he was like a king standing above the mountain of corpses and the sea of blood. No, that's not right. He's not a king. He's a devil. A terrifying devil. Although Li Yunju was still confused by Lu Wei's words, she understood the crux of the matter. Young man, portrait, Fan Jun, could it be? Li Yunju suddenly thought of something. She looked at Lu Wei and asked, "Give me the portrait Fan Jun gave you." Hurry. Yes. Lu Wei didn't refuse. He took out the portrait and handed it to Li Yunju. Li Yunju didn't say anything. She picked up the portrait and looked at it. When she saw the face of the man in the portrait, Li Yunju was dumbfounded. As expected, this Fan Jun doesn't listen to father's orders. The portrait was naturally Lin Rei. As for the portrait of an old fan, Li Yunju naturally understood the original meaning behind it. However, what made her angry was not that he had dealt with the young man, but because Li Jiping had clearly stated time and time again that he was not to do anything improper to the young man. How long had it been since then? He had completely forgotten about it and even sent out a centurion from the army. How could she tolerate this? What's going on? Why is the princess so angry? And why did she say that we were acting on our own? Lu Wei's vision blurred. He didn't understand anything, but he could clearly feel Li Yunju's intention. Ma. ma, 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 ma. The feeling of impending death suddenly arose. He was afraid. He was afraid that the young man would kill him. He didn't want to die yet. There were old and young at home. How could he say that his family depended on his salary? Thus, he couldn't lose his reputation here. Speak. And what? Li Yunju's interest was piqued. Lu Wei raised his head and looked at Li Yunju. Gritting his teeth, he closed his eyes and continued. The young man said that if your highness is too slow, those people will die. And they will die a painful death. Not a single one will be left alive. What? Li Yunju was furious. Although she was furious that Fan Jun didn't listen to military orders, he was still the one who watched her grow up. She couldn't let anything happen to him. Get up. I'll go look for father now. Without waiting for Lu Wei's response, she turned and ran towards the depths of the royal capital. After all, she grew up in the army camp. In Li Jiping's room, Li Jiping was sitting in a chair with a gloomy expression. He had just received a report that Fan Jun had brought over 30 centurions out of the army camp. His goal was unknown. This news was like a bolt from the blue, striking Li Jiping's heart. He had never imagined that his own commander would disobey military orders and ignore military rules to mobilize centurions without permission. This crime could be considered small, but it was also a crime as great as the heavens. Disobeying military orders was a crime that was forbidden in the army. Bang! Fan Jun had been following him all this time, so he knew him very well. He really didn't understand what was going on that made him mobilize the army. Didn't he know that this would easily arouse the suspicion of the emperor? Fan Jun had been following him all this time, so he knew him very well. The more he thought about it, the angrier he became. Unfortunately, it was too late. As soon as he received the news, he sent scouts to investigate. But who would have thought that the scouts would report that they couldn't find anything? Father! Li Yunju's voice rang out in the silent room. Li Jiping's gloomy expression softened when he heard her call. Zhu, what is it? Looking at her daughter's panting appearance, she stood up and brought a cup of tea to her. Slow down. It won't be too late to talk after you drink some tea. Li Yunju, seeing that his father was not in a hurry and did not get angry, Xiao Chen rolled his eyes and said unhappily, Royal father, Uncle Fan Jun is leading more than 30 centurions in the city. They are surrounding the youth that I saved earlier and allowed to leave with Little Blossom. What? Li Jiping exclaimed. His hand trembled, and the tea in the teacup spilled onto his hand. His face sank. Thinking of the information he had just brought back, he could confirm the whole story. After all this time, it turned out that they were looking for the young man. No, they are surrounding here. This word made Li Jiping feel uneasy. Others might not understand, but he was very clear that the other party was powerful. Father, Centurion Lu Wei just came back and said that the young man asked him to bring a message. What message? Seeing the tense expression on her father's face, Li Yunju was taken aback. She didn't think too much about it and continued. The young man asked you to hurry over. Otherwise, Uncle Fan Jun and the others will be killed, and they will die in agony. F***CK, as expected, this thing still happened. It was because he was afraid that the young man would go on a killing spree that he ordered his men not to search for the young man and to let nature take its course. However, the matter that he didn't want to see had happened, and it was done by his own subordinates. That bastard, he must be tired of living. Chapter 1266. Then what should we do now? Do we really have to listen to that person and go find him? At this moment, Li Yunju was a little afraid of her father. Since she was born, this was the first time she had seen her father so angry. Of course we have to go. Li Jiping nodded, tidied up and walked out. Although he hated his subordinates for not listening to orders, Fan Jun had been with him for many years. They had a deep relationship. He could not just watch him get killed. Of course, before going, he thought of his own strength. If he did not trust Fan Jun, he would take out the favor he owed him. In short, as long as the two of them came out, it would be fine. Looking at her father's back, Li Yunju was stunned. She quickly followed him. In the restaurant, in the illusion and trap arrays, Fan Jun and the rest were in a daze. You, Humph, let's see where you can run to this time. Just as Fan Jun was trying to find a way out, the fog in front of him suddenly distorted. Suddenly, a figure appeared. When Fan Jun saw that person's face, he was filled with anger. Without saying anything, he reached out and grabbed the hilt of his sword. He took a step forward and waved his sword. From top to bottom, he released his ferocious energy on the battlefield and slashed towards Lin Rei. Slash! Strangely enough, Fan Jun's warblade left behind a long, deep wound on Lin Li's back. You! Lin Rei turned around and looked at Fan Jun, feeling the pain on his back. His face was distorted and his eyes were bloodshot. Die for me! Seeing Lin Rei rushing towards him, Fan Jun did not want to fall behind. He took a step forward and raised his sword. Just like that, the two of them started fighting. In the outside world, Lin Rei was still sitting on the doorstep, drinking wine and looking at the illusion array. Fan Jun and his brothers were killing each other. This scene was very exciting. Kill. I'll wait for you to kill to your heart's content. It will be you who will fall into pain and despair. Looking at the bloody scene, the corner of his mouth rose. A bloodthirsty smile flashed. That's not enough. Looking at the scene, although it was exciting, it was not enough. After all, there was no point in watching mortals fight. Alright, that little girl. Suddenly, he thought of Ouyang Ting. He communicated with Ouyang Zheng with his divine will and sent a voice transmission. Ouyang Zheng, how is it? Has little Ting built her foundation? In a room in the backyard of the restaurant, Ouyang Zheng and Ouyang Ting were sitting across from each other. Ouyang Zheng, who was resting with his eyes closed, suddenly heard Lin Rei's voice. His body trembled as he communicated with Lin Rei, replying, Young master, not only has little Ting completed her foundation building, she's also practiced my cultivation technique. She's now at the 9th layer of the Qi refining realm. According to what you said, my foundation is solid and my Taoist root is stable. If I practice according to what you said, I'm afraid that I won't be a match for her when she reaches my level. Hearing this, Lin Rei was overjoyed. Good, whatever he wanted had come true. Wake little Ting up. Tell her that the first lesson of becoming a true cultivator has officially begun. Young master, you won't. Ouyang Zheng hesitated. As a cultivator, he understood what the first lesson of becoming a cultivator, which was also the most important lesson of becoming a cultivator, represented. Lin Rei understood and Ouyang Zheng knew what he meant. He didn't hide it and nodded. Yes, you should understand that if you want to become a true cultivator, you must pass this hurdle. Don't stop me. I'm doing this for her own good. Don't tell me you want her to enter the true cultivation world and be killed by others immediately. This time, Ouyang Zheng was silent. He understood these reasons, but when he thought of little Ting, who was only 16 years old, he couldn't bear to let her do those bloody things. However, okay, young master. I'll wake little Ting up now. After saying that, he cut off the communication with Lin Rei. He opened his eyes and looked at his disciple who was cultivating. A trace of pity flashed through his eyes. Alas, what will come will come. After saying that, he stood up and transmitted his voice. Little Ting, wake up quickly. Follow me to where young master is. Young master wants to give you a mission to become a true cultivator. While cultivating, Ouyang Ting woke up. She opened her eyes and saw the trace of pity in her master's eyes. She didn't understand why, but she stood up and bowed. Yes, master. Ouyang Zheng nodded and brought Ouyang Ting to Lin Rei's side in the front yard. When he raised his head and saw the scene of fighting in the fog, Ouyang Zheng understood. Since you're here, then go. With a clang, a long sword appeared out of thin air and fell to the ground. He looked at Ouyang Ting and said, Little Ting, whether you can become a true cultivator or not is up to you. Whether you want to become a dragon or a worm, or be looked down upon by others in the end, it's up to you. Raising his hand, he pointed at the formation and continued, There are some mortals who don't know what's good for them. They want to be disrespectful to me, but I trapped them in the illusion formation. Go in. I'll help you avoid the illusion formation. Kill anyone you see inside. Remember, don't be merciful because the cultivation world is thousands of times more dangerous than this. If you can't even pass this time, I don't think there's a need for you to enter the cultivation world. At the side, Ouyang Zheng felt sorry for his disciple, but he didn't stop her. He understood that if he stopped her, it wouldn't be good for her future. Master, Looking at the long sword in front of her and hearing the miserable screams coming from the fog, she was afraid. She never thought that there would be such a day. Little Ting, young master is right. If you want to become a cultivator, this moment is indispensable. Go. Don't worry and do it. No one will do anything to you here. I'm watching. After saying that, without waiting for Ouyang Ting to speak, spiritual energy rushed out and brought Ouyang Ting into the fog. Ouyang Zheng's voice came into her ears. Little Ting, remember, in the cultivation world, it's either you die or I live. If you want to live, use the sword in your hand and protect yourself. Hearing this, Ouyang Ting subconsciously clenched the long sword in her hand. Her forehead was sweating and her face was pale. She didn't know if her body was excited or scared. She couldn't stop trembling. Outside the formation, looking at his disciple's appearance, Ouyang Zhang couldn't help but plead. Young master, Little Ting is a kind child. Do you have any way to help her? Turning his head, he looked at Ouyang Zhang and shook his head with a bitter smile. You? All right, since you're pleading for her, I'll help her. After saying that, he waved his hand and the formation changed. In the formation, a figure suddenly appeared. When Ouyang Ting, who was vigilant of her surroundings, saw the figure, her expression changed greatly. Her originally pale and vigilant face became distorted. Her eyes were bloodshot. Like a wild beast, she rushed forward with her sword in hand. Bitch, it's all because of you. If it wasn't for you, I would still be a spoiled child in front of my parents. I'll kill you. Chapter 1267. It was fine if she didn't go crazy, but once she did, she couldn't control herself anymore. She was like a ferocious beast that had been suppressed in her heart and finally broke free from its cage. That kind of feeling, that kind of freedom. At this moment, Ouyang Ting was in such a mood. Because of the illusory formation, in Ouyang Ting's eyes, those soldiers brought by Fan Jun had completely become her stepmother that she had sold. That kind of hatred came from the bottom of her heart. Usually, nothing could be seen. But now, because of the allure of the illusory formation, that kind of hatred could no longer be controlled and finally exploded. Icy Frost Sword Technique. Holding the long sword in her hand, she used the sword technique that Ouyang Zhan had just taught her. I have to say it was indeed just taught. Looking at that crooked and weak appearance, Lin Rei was shocked and uncomfortable. Although he wasn't a sword cultivator, he was still a sword user. He really couldn't stand Ouyang Ting's icy frost sword technique. He turned his head and looked at Ouyang Zhan, who was also embarrassed. He was suddenly discouraged and lost his temper. Looks like after this is over, I have to properly teach her sword techniques. I can't bear to let others know that she's a disciple of the Xuanzong Sect. Wouldn't the Nine Heavens Xuanzong Sect lose face? After making this decision, he stopped caring about Ouyang Ting. It wasn't that he didn't want to care, it was just that he really couldn't bear to look at it. On the other side, Linley was very happy as he watched Fan Jun slaughter everyone around him. He really wanted to see how Fan Jun would feel after he rejoiced and found out that the people he had just killed were all his old comrades. Die, die. All of you die. Fan Jun was getting more and more excited. Facing Lin Rei's brothers, he didn't hold back at all. It could be said that each of his attacks was fatal. Oh, interesting. You're finally here. In his divine sense, a few figures flashed and rushed in this direction. He recognized Lu Wei among them. Wasn't he the man that he had let go before? You've come just in time. I'll let you see a good show. As he spoke, Lin Rei calmly formed a seal with his hand and rushed in the direction of Lu Wei and the others. The illusion array slowly dissipated and a bloody scene appeared. There were many corpses at Fan Jun's feet, all of them clearly in pain. Their eyes were wide open, as if they would never be able to forget what had happened before they died. Ouyang Zhen, pack up and get ready. Someone is coming to watch the show. We have to build a bigger stage. Looking at Lin Rei, Ouyang Zhang was puzzled. He didn't understand what Lin Lei meant. You don't understand? Lin Rei asked. Ouyang Zhen shook his head and said, I don't really understand. Of course, young master, if you tell me, I will understand. In response to Ouyang Zhen's reaction, Lin Rei directly slapped his forehead with a defeated expression. He helplessly shook his head and said, Didn't I tell you to go and offend the weak and intentionally offend the people of the Emperor's equal? Or kill some of them? Have you forgotten my words so quickly? No. No, how could I forget? Ouyang awkwardly smiled and scratched his head. He then looked at the disciples in the array and turned to bow to Lin Rei before flying away. I'm really convinced. How can I have such a stupid subordinate? He sighed and sat back down. Host, it's not that this system wants to criticize you. It's just that you are stupid. Now you have the face to say that others are stupid. What should I say about you? You're crazy. Lin Rei was dumbfounded. If the system didn't want to come out, it wouldn't come out. Now that it finally came out, it didn't earn anything. In the end, it opened its mouth to criticize him. Host, the system said that if you help the Emperor's equal succeed, you can just go straight to his door and force him to abdicate the throne. Isn't that enough? Do you still want to complete the mission in the Holy World? Do you still want to cure your daughter? Do you still want to get that crystal core? Do you still want to? That's right. Do you still want to? Yi Qingtang sneered. Do you still want to? All right. Before the system could finish its words, Lin Rei directly interrupted it with a look of dissatisfaction. System, you're really talking more and more. Is it because you've been absorbing the nether void chi recently and feel that the system is about to improve? You're thinking too much. The system was still as impolite as before. All right, you don't have to care about this anymore. Just hurry up and complete the mission and leave this place. Why, I say you. All right, someone's coming. Hurry up and settle it. The system reminded and then disappeared. Fuck, that's it? Sensing that the system had cut off the connection with him, he helplessly shook his head. Forget it. There will be plenty of opportunities in the future. He turned around and released his divine sense. His gaze fell on Li Zhiping and the others. You're finally here. Too slow. Looking at Li Zhiping, who was standing on the western side of the street, his lips curled up slightly. A trace of excitement and emotion could be seen in his eyes. He stood up and patted the dust off his clothes. Then he flew over to Li Zhiping and the others. Looking down, he said, Lu Wei, you're finally here. I thought you were too scared to come. But now it seems that I misunderstood you. You're not as cowardly as I thought you were. Who is it? A voice suddenly rang out, causing Li Zhiping and the others to turn invisible. Their expressions were grave as they looked around. There's no need to look for me. The reason I called you here is to let you watch a good show. With a wave of his sleeve, the fog around him dispersed and a bloody scene appeared in front of Li Zhiping. Hiss! Seeing that bloody scene, Li Yunju subconsciously let out a startled cry and retreated. The others were also startled by this scene. Even Li Zhiping, a veteran who had been on the battlefield for a long time, was greatly frightened by this scene. No, that's... Li Zhiping looked at the back of the person who had wielded the saber to kill. Although he was covered in blood, Li Zhiping still recognized the identity of the person. Fan Jun. What? Fan Jun? Aunt Meng, who had followed Li Zhiping, opened her eyes and looked over when she heard what Li Zhiping said. Her gaze lingered on Fan Jun's body. In the end, her gaze locked onto the saber in Fan Jun's hand. That's right. It's Fan Jun. I got someone to forge this saber for him. Fan Jun usually carries it with him like it's his treasure. After saying that, Aunt Meng's heart trembled, and she felt an indescribable pain in her heart. No, that's not right. Father, quickly look at what Uncle Fan Jun is doing. Just when they were sure that the person was Fan Jun, Li Yunju's voice rang out. Instantly, everyone became clear-headed. That's right. That person was indeed Fan Jun. However, who was the person he was killing? Thinking about it, Li Zhiping raised his head and pondered. At this moment, Li Zhiping was very glad that he had good eyesight. However, when he looked carefully, he felt as if he had been electrocuted. He felt unwell. What exactly is going on? Why would Fan Jun attack these people? Why is he so ruthless? Why? That's right. As the commander of an army, he recognized the so-called people under Fan Jun's saber. They were soldiers and centurions under his command. Furthermore, the corpses lying on the ground were centurions that he had carefully selected. All of them were brave and skilled in battle. They were all very brave. However, all of this went down the drain just like that. His good brother from the past had completely disregarded their past relationship at this moment and was fighting with all his might. It was as if both sides didn't know each other, but there was some deep hatred between them. Every move was fatal, leaving no survivors. How is it? Is this scene nice to see? Lin Rei's voice rang out in everyone's ears again. What exactly do you want? Why are you treating the special forces like this? Is there some enmity between the two of you or? No, you're that unconscious young man? Finally, Li Jiping came online. Hey, that's right. I am the young man that was unconscious for 2 years. However, in front of me, don't call me young man. My old bones add up to almost 5,000 years old. Calling me young man is a bit shameless. Lin Rei rubbed his chin and slowly said. Lin Rei was the type of person that would shock everyone with his words. Once he opened his mouth, everyone present was stunned. 5,000 years old. What kind of concept was that? Perhaps there were people that could live past 5,000 years old in Kongming. However, they had never heard of anyone that could live past 5,000 years old. Say, Senior, this junior is being impulsive. However, this junior still wishes to ask. How exactly did my subordinates offend Senior for Senior to treat them in such a manner? You must know that they are all subordinates of my Hongtian Empire. I'm afraid that your actions are somewhat. I'm not from your Hongtian Empire. However, I can explain this person to you. Oh, no, it's not an explanation. Let me show you the whole story. After saying that, Lin Rei circulated his cultivation, and an adversity crystal instantly appeared in front of Li Jiping. The scene within the crystal was the scene of Fan Jun in front of the Gate of Accomplishment. Today, all of you only have one mission. In the capital, find one person. No, 2 people for me. 1 male and 1 female. The female is Little Blossom from the capital. The male is the young man that the princess saved previously. The person who spoke was Fan Jun. After returning to the capital, he felt that he couldn't take it lying down. In the end, he gathered his subordinates and caused this scene. He turned his head and gestured to the person beside him. Then he took out several portraits of Lin Rei and said, "These are the portraits of the young man. Find him, tie him up and send him to the capital." Do all of you understand? When everyone heard Fan Jun's words, they straightened their backs and replied loudly, "Understood." Then, each of you can take 1 portrait. After saying that, he turned around and walked towards Aunt Meng, who was not far away. He said, "Just you wait. I want to see what kind of person that young man is. How can he be so ungrateful?" And Little Blossom. She didn't even care about the many years of kindness that the royal residence has shown her. She would rather leave with a stranger who has been unconscious for 2 years. Humph, don't let me see her. If I see her, I will let her know that there is a price to pay for betraying the royal residence. This price will be unforgettable for her. Looking at Fan Jun, a trace of worry flashed across Aunt Meng's eyes. Fan Jun, do you think this is a good idea? Why? Fan Jun turned around. Even His Highness hasn't said anything. If we do this privately, wouldn't it be too reckless? Moreover. As she said that, she reached out and pointed at the dozens of people. She continued, "These are all from the military. If someone with ulterior motives finds out that our royal residence has mobilized the military without permission and reports this to His Majesty, our royal residence will be in danger." Fan Jun was silent. Indeed, the royal residence was at the center of the storm. If something happened, it would arouse His Majesty's sympathy. After all, the royal residence's achievements were so high that it shocked His Majesty. If they mobilized the military without permission, it would arouse His Majesty's suspicions. However, when he thought about the confidentiality of this matter, he immediately felt relieved. From the beginning to the end, he had been trying his luck in handling this matter. He waved his hand and said confidently, "It's fine. Don't worry. As long as we find that brat, these people will immediately return to the military without delay. Don't worry." After saying that, he gave her a reassuring smile. Aunt Meng understood that it was too late for her to say anything. The dozens of soldiers had already left. Sigh, I hope so. Kacha. Kacha. The scene stopped and the adversity crystal began to shatter. In a few breaths, The adversity crystal disappeared and was replaced by Li Jiping's gloomy expression. The scene just now had pictures and sounds. It was as if they were all at the scene. I didn't expect that this Fan Jun would be so daring. Previously, this prince clearly told him not to look for him. He actually, as he thought about it, he quickly bowed and said, "Senior, this matter is Fan Jun's fault. However, you have already killed so many people. Do you think you want this sovereign to let him go?" Lin Rei asked. Yes. Senior, why don't you let it go? My royal residence is willing to use money to make up for his mistake. What does Senior think? Li Jiping was probing. He wanted to understand Lin Rei's emotions. Only then would he be able to get Fan Jun out of there. After what just happened, he understood that he was no match for Lin Rei. It could even be said that no one in the entire royal capital could be his opponent. The space was silent. Lin Rei didn't speak. It was as if he was deep in thought. However, in the sky, Lin Rei's gaze landed on Ouyang Ting. Suddenly, an interesting matter appeared in his mind. He lowered his head and looked at Li Jiping and the others. He said, "How about this? This sovereign has a little girl here. As long as I can defeat him, this sovereign will let her go unconditionally. How about it?" "Really? Truly? My words are as good as gold. Even a team of 4 horses cannot go back on them." Lin Li confirmed. "If that's the case then... All right, don't dilly-dally. If that's the case, then let's begin." As he spoke, he communicated with Ouyang Ting. "Little Ting, take 3 steps to the left and 4 steps forward. If you defeat him, this sovereign will teach you an even more powerful sword technique. If I lose, if you lose, you will cultivate in the 10,000-year-old ice for 100 years. This is your punishment. Remember, if you don't want to be alone for 100 years, then do your best." Chapter 1268. Li Jiping didn't know that Lin Rei had already summoned Ouyang Ting. However, at this moment, Ouyang Ting was covered in killing intent. Her body was covered in blood, and her face was more or less stained with blood. Her appearance was very eye-catching. "Understood, young master." Inside the formation, after hearing Lin Rei's punishment, Ouyang Ting bowed deeply and answered. She would cultivate in the 10,000-year ice for 100 years. Not to mention whether she could cultivate in the 10,000-year ice without being soaked by the ice. Just being unable to come out of seclusion for 100 years was already miserable enough. Thinking about the days when she lost, Ouyang Ting's nerves trembled. She quickly shook her head and refused. "This time, I must defeat the person that young master mentioned. I don't want to be sealed in the 10,000-year ice for 100 years. She was very clear about Lin Rei's right to speak. As long as Lin Rei spoke, Ouyang Zhen basically wouldn't refuse. She would even carry out his orders personally. Following Lin Rei's instructions, Ouyang Ting's figure appeared at the designated place. Little Blossom? Li Jiping, Li Yunju, and the others who had been waiting to witness everything were all stunned when they saw the figure that appeared from the rolling fog. Especially Li Yunju, Xiao Lu, Li Jiping, and the others who were familiar with Little Blossom. When they saw the tyrannical aura surrounding the girl that they had used for a long time, their hearts trembled. They didn't dare to approach her. What's going on? Why did Little Blossom become like this? She used to be very gentle and kind. Why did the gentle aura around her become like this? That's right. Why did Little Blossom become like this? She's become like a demon. She's holding a sword in one hand and looking down on all living things. It's really a little hard to get close to her. How did this happen? What did you do to Little Blossom? Xiao Lu couldn't help but shout. Ouyang Ting knew Little Blossom very well. Normally, she wouldn't even dare to kill a chicken. But now she was covered in blood. She walked out of the fog with a sword in her hand. Ouyang Ting didn't look like her good friend at all. Lin Rei was stunned by Xiao Lu's roar. Then he grinned and coldly snorted. "Little girl, it's not your fault that you're short-sighted. It's also not your fault that you know too much about your friends and yourself. Back then, I gave you a chance, but you didn't grasp it. If you say another word here, you'll die." As soon as he said this, the space around young deer froze and the temperature suddenly dropped. His face turned pale and his body trembled as he took a step back. As for his mouth, It was tightly shut and he did not speak. However, his gaze was fixed on his good friend in front of him. At the side, Li Jiping, who had been listening to all of this, fixed his gaze on Ouyang Ting, a look of envy in his eyes. He could feel the changes in Ouyang Ting's body. Of course, other than the spiritual energy flowing in Ouyang Ting's body. He turned his head and said to Li Yunju and the others, "This girl is no longer the same as before. From now on, she's no longer my servant. Do you all hear me?" Understood. Nobody dared to say anything after hearing Li Jiping's words. In the end, they could only nod their heads in agreement. Although they didn't have any complaints, they could only do it in the end. Lin Rei couldn't help but nod his head at Li Jiping's actions. "You're very smart. You didn't give me a chance to kill. Say, Senior, you must be joking. With senior skills, you won't lower yourself to the same level as an ordinary person like me." From Lin Rei's words, he could feel a shocking killing intent. He nodded his head continuously. At the side, when she saw her father nodding his head and fawning over her, she felt a sense of unfamiliarity. Was this still her father? Was this still the same hero who didn't have any stage fright in front of millions of soldiers? Was this still the god of war and god of slaughter who pressed forward courageously? She didn't understand. She really didn't understand. She only knew that if she didn't have to help, this wouldn't have happened. In mid-air, Lin Li stared at Li Jiping and the others. He didn't say anything. Looking down at Ouyang Ting, he said, "Make your move. Let me see what you're capable of. Give me a reason to stop you from going into closed-door training." Hearing this, Ouyang Ting's body trembled. She bowed and said, "Yes, young master. This subordinate will do it now." After saying that, she raised her head and looked at the man who was covered in blood. A faint trace of panic flashed across her face. If it really counted, this was her real face-to-face battle. Everything before was built on the basis of hatred. But now they were face-to-face. Moreover, the other party didn't look like her stepmother. "Come. I can't disobey young master's orders. So, I can only do my best. I hope you won't blame me." Blame me?" Hearing Ouyang Ting's words, Fan Jun felt a burst of laughter. He snorted and said, "Little girl, you really know how to joke. If it weren't for your master, would I be here today?" "Blame? Do you think I dare to blame you?" Ouyang Ting was silent. Indeed, if it weren't for her young master, this scene wouldn't have happened. Of course, she understood that if it weren't for his reasons, this scene wouldn't have happened. She didn't continue to respond. Raising her hand, she held her sword in the air. With a serious expression, her eyes locked onto Fan Jun. Ouyang Ting was serious, unprecedentedly serious. Her chi refinement realm cultivation quickly circulated within her body. Recalling the feeling of using the sword and her previous experience, an unprecedented confidence surged into her heart. "I'm going to make my move. You better be careful." Ice Frost Sword Technique, First Style, Frost Sword descends. Suddenly, the long sword was waved, and a cold aura was emitted from the long sword, spreading around his body. This, Fan Jun, who was fighting on the scene, sensed that Ouyang Ting's sword art was no ordinary sword art when she displayed it. He swore that this was the first time in his life that he had seen such a scene, especially when the sword moved and the cold air surged around her. Watching the sword move, as time passed, its speed became faster and faster. Faintly, Fan Jun saw frost appear around Ouyang Ting's body. Whoosh! She moved. Waving the sword in her hand, she stomped her feet. Suddenly, her whole body burst out, rushing towards Fan Jun fast. The sword was ever-changing. It was as if there were thousands of swords everywhere. Holding the battle blade, he didn't have the strength to fight back. He really didn't know how to fight back. Ouyang Ting's speed was too fast. Of course, as a former warrior, he could see that Ouyang Ting wasn't very familiar with this sword technique. Faintly, during the fast swings, she would occasionally pause for a moment or two. Although I don't know if I can win, I still have to give it my all. Otherwise, my reputation will be ruined." As he spoke, he swung his sword and used the crazy demon blade technique. Looking at Ouyang Ting, who was rushing towards him, Fan Jun's body burst out, rushing towards her. Chapter 1269. Clang. Sword and saber collided. Sparks flew as the two of them clashed, neither of them able to do anything to the other. You actually... Fan Jun was startled by that power. Although he had expected that he wouldn't be a match for her, he still found it difficult to bear. Thinking back to his life, he had crawled through mountains of corpses and seas of blood. How could this little girl possess such power at such a young age? As expected, that youth is that kind of person. I never thought that in just a few days, this little girl would possess such power. As Fan Jun's superior, he was well aware of Fan Jun's strength. Fan Jun was one of the top existences in the military. Even if he encountered him, he probably wouldn't be able to fight him to a standstill. In just one move, he had never thought that his little maid would have such power. Li Yiping was shocked, but Li Yunju and Xiaolu were even more shocked. The three of them had often whispered to each other, but now? How long had it been since their opponent's strength had reached such a level? "Heh, I never thought that you would be so strong," said Ouyang as she raised her head to look at Fan Jun. However, in her heart, she was very happy because this was only 60% of her strength. Ouyang had seen it before. When fighting someone, you couldn't use your full strength from the start. You had to use a portion of your cultivation to probe your opponent. Although he didn't know whether or not Fan Jun had used his full strength, he could sense that facing Fan Jun wasn't strenuous at all. Fortunately, Fan Jun didn't know what Ouyang was thinking. If he did, he would definitely want to cry. As a soldier, he didn't know what probing was. In his mind, there was only pressing forward, not turning back. "Little girl, if you have this kind of strength, it would be great to serve the country. Becoming a marquis is just around the corner. Why do you want to serve others?" said Fan Jun. Indeed, if she hadn't met Linley before, if she hadn't experienced Linley's strength, if she had had the opportunity she had now, after hearing these words, she might have really joined the army. But now, it was different. Immortality, longevity, and ability were all better than serving the country. Moreover, serving the country did not necessarily require a little girl. Looking at Fan Jun, a cold smile flashed across his face. He shook his head and said, "Don't waste your energy. I will never betray the young master. Young master, you have given me power that ordinary people can't reach. You have given me the ability to reach the heavens. Even if you were to use the throne of the current emperor, I wouldn't care about it. So give up. You are no match for me. As long as you give up, I can spare your life. How about it?" "Oh, are you so sure that you can kill me?" Fan Jun raised his eyebrows in displeasure. Alas! Fan Jun's stubbornness made Ouyang feel very charming. Recalling what her master had said about the young master's temper, she decided not to waste any more time. Clang! The long sword slashed across, and Zhang Xian retreated. The killing intent around him condensed. "Since you're so stubborn, don't blame me for what happens next." After figuring out Fan Jun's strength, she was no longer worried. Since he didn't want to admit defeat, she could only kill him with one strike. "Humph! Do you really think that I am a pushover after all these years on the battlefield?" Fan Jun snorted coldly. He placed his long sword in front of his chest, stomped his feet, and charged towards Ouyang again. It's about to end. In the outside world, Li Yiping saw Fan Jun's action and said. He was very familiar with the demonic frenzy blade art. This was the last move of the demonic frenzy blade art. As long as it was used, blood would definitely be spilled. Then, "Father, will Xiaohua be in danger?" Li Yunju was worried. Hearing his daughter's worry, Li Yiping turned to look at her with a regretful expression. "I don't know. However, I hope that Xiaohua and Fan Jun will be fine." Looking at the current situation, he wasn't sure who would win. However, he vaguely felt that Fan Jun was in danger. After all, Ouyang master was that kind of person. He was unpredictable. Who knew if Ouyang had other trump cards? "Since you want to die, don't blame me." Seeing Fan Jun charging towards her, Ouyang killing intent rose. Ice Frost Sword Art, the second move. She wasn't familiar with this move. However, even if she wasn't familiar with it, it was extraordinary when she used it. Not good. Ice Frost was used. Suddenly, the remaining spiritual energy in her body quickly flowed into the long sword. In the air, Lin Rei saw this scene and shook his head. Looks like it's still a little difficult. Although he hadn't practiced the Ice Frost Sword Art, He could tell that this sword art wasn't of a high grade. However, it wasn't something that Ouyang Ting could practice at her current level. For this incident, I can only teach her a few battle techniques and moves that are compatible with her current cultivation. Although he thought about it, his eyes never left Ouyang Ting. He didn't want this new subordinate of his to die for no reason. Of course, he believed that this level of battle wouldn't be a problem for her. Especially after using Ice Frost, it was even more so. Ice Frost quickly circulated. The more spiritual energy it absorbed, the less spiritual energy Ouyang Ting had. Time passed. After 10 breaths, the Ice Frost sword art was completed. In her body, the remaining spiritual energy was barely enough. Die! Fan Jun's voice rang in her ears. She looked up and saw that Fan Jun's figure had already arrived. Oh, you came just in time. This distance gave Ouyang Ting a chance to use Ice Frost. If she only had a 50% chance before, now she had a 99% chance to kill him. What? Ouyang Ting's lineup made Fan Jun a little apprehensive. At this moment, a cold aura emerged from the long sword. Not good. He, who had been lingering on the edge of life and death for a long time, could feel danger approaching. Now, after feeling the cold aura, he understood that this sword was very dangerous. Without hesitation, he planned to retreat. As for attacking, he gave up. In front of his life, what bravery! What bravery! It was nonsense. If he lost his life, what was the use of these things? Don't you think it's too late? Seeing that Fan Jun was about to retreat, Ouyang Ting sneered. She waved her long sword and used Ice Frost. She raised her long sword and rushed towards Fan Jun. I don't dare. Fan Jun is in trouble. Outside, Li Jiping, who had been observing, was shocked. His face changed and he shouted at the array. Little flower, that person is Fan Jun. It's Fan Jun from the Wang Mansion. Have mercy. However, before Li Jiping could say anything, Fan Jun saw the long sword and subconsciously raised his long sword to fight against Ouyang Ting. What? Just as the long sword was about to cut Fan Jun into pieces, Li Jiping's voice sounded in Ouyang Ting's ears. Suddenly, the long sword stopped in the air. Ouyang Ting was stunned, but Fan Jun did not. The long sword was still moving. The long sword appeared. At this moment, Ouyang Ting suddenly came back to her senses. Looking at the long sword that was at her shoulder, her heart jumped. She used the last bit of spiritual qi in her body to move her body and dodge to the side. Puchi! A trace of blood flashed. Chapter 1270. Ah! Whoosh! A scream was heard as a figure was pushed back. In the air, the face of the person who was pushed back instantly turned pale. His right hand was clutching his throat as fresh blood gushed out from his throat. It was a murderous scene. In the air, Lin Rei was enraged when he saw this. He released his murderous aura and enveloped everyone present. Bastard, you! Hurt my people! As soon as he finished speaking, he appeared beside Fan Jun. His hand was as fast as lightning as he grabbed Fan Jun's throat and lifted him up. On the other side, Ouyang Ting was lying on the ground. Her hands were clutching her throat. She was in great pain. If it wasn't for him, no one in the entire empty underworld region would have the ability to heal her throat. In the distance, Li Jiping was dumbfounded. This was not what he wanted to see. When he saw that Fan Jun's life was in danger, he shouted in a hurry. He didn't expect that Fan Jun would take advantage of Ouyang Ting's dazed state to attack her. Xiaohua! Li Yunju saw this and screamed. She ran up to Ouyang Ting with a worried expression. She squatted down and reached out her hand to check Ouyang Ting's wound. If your hands touch her, your father, your family, and even the people related to your family, I will exterminate them. I will detain them and make them suffer the pain of having their hearts devoured by 10,000 ghosts in the 9 netherworlds. Li Yunju, who was about to reach out her hand, heard Lin Rei's words. She couldn't help but stop her hand in midair. She turned to look at Lin Rei with an ugly expression. She didn't believe it. However, when she felt Lin Rei's murderous aura, she couldn't help but see a strange scene in her mind. In the scene, her family, friends, and father were all trapped in a black sea. Thousands of ghosts were tearing at them, but they couldn't die. Although it was just a momentary lapse of concentration, she couldn't make any movements. She was afraid that the scene that flashed past her would come true. Well, you're a good girl. Seeing Li Yunju's hand stop, Lin Rei nodded. He waved his hand and spiritual energy rushed out. Ting, who was lying on the ground and groaning in pain, floated in the air and landed in front of Lin Rei. How is this possible? Is this some kind of trick? The scene of Lin Rei retrieving the item from afar stunned everyone. They were all stunned on the spot. Li Yiping was still fine. After all, he had just figured out the other party's identity. Li Yiping and the rest did not dare to breathe loudly. However, Fan Jun, who was being choked by Lin Rei, broke the silence. Because he was being choked by Lin Rei, his face was flushed red. He deliberately struggled, and his body began to slowly lose strength. Clang! The long saber slipped out of his hand and fell to the ground. His limbs lost their strength and drooped vertically as if they had no bones. Are you feeling uncomfortable? Looking at Fan Jun, Lin Rei felt even more annoyed. Of course, he felt even more annoyed by Ting, this good-for-nothing. It was just a moment ago that Zhang Xian had lectured her, but who could have thought that in just a short moment, she would have completely tossed his words to the back of her mind? A cultivator was actually defeated by a martial artist who did not know how to cultivate. Furthermore, his throat was cut in such a miserable manner. Sigh! Zhang Xian sighed and lowered his head to look at Ting, who was lying on the ground with a painful expression. He snorted coldly. I've taught you before. Being merciful to the enemy is being cruel to yourself. On the battlefield, it's either you die or I live. Do you think your life is tough? Or do you think that with this sovereign beside you, nothing will happen to you? Idiot! Zhang Xian said mercilessly to Ting, who was bleeding non-stop and whose face was pale. You should hurry up and treat her. If you delay any longer, Little Blossom will die soon. Hurry up! That's right. Hurry up and treat Little Blossom. If you can't do it, then call the doctors from the capital. Don't delay any longer. Li Yunju and Xiaolu could not stand it anymore. They spoke up for Ting. However, they seemed to have forgotten who caused Ting to be in this state. If Li Yiping did not suddenly speak up, Ting would not be in this state right now. If it was not for the tie between them, he would not be injured by a martial artist. Looking at the two of them, Lin Rei glanced at them. The coldness in his eyes made the two of them tremble. Ever since he was young, he had been under the protection of his father, the emperor equal to the emperor. When had he ever been looked at with such coldness? There were not many people who even raised their voices at him. Humph, you really have the cheek to say that. Ting shouldn't have ended up like this. If it wasn't for her soft-heartedness, she probably wouldn't have ended up in such a state. Now, she's trying to turn the tables on us. Lin Rei looked at the two of them in a polite manner. One had to know that he did not even care about the cultivators who were stronger than him in the holy world, let alone these ordinary people. Ting, does it hurt? Everyone rolled their eyes at Lin Rei's question. Clearly, they despised him for asking such a stupid question. However, Lin Rei did not notice their gazes. Or it could be said that he did not care about them at all. His gaze was still fixed on Ting. He wanted to hear her answer. Lying on the ground, Ting looked at Lin Rei. Her eyes were filled with regret. With a hoarse voice she replied, "Why, young master, this subordinate knows his mistake. This subordinate should not have disobeyed young master's teachings. I should not have been soft-hearted towards the enemy." Sigh. Hearing Ting's words, Lin Rei nodded helplessly. After this incident, he believed that Ting would be reborn. No matter who it was, after experiencing death, their personality would change. Whether they were kind-hearted, benevolent, or compassionate, after experiencing death, they would all change. Remember what you said. Next time, this sovereign does not want to see the same scene. Otherwise, there is no need for you to exist. Do you understand? I understand. This subordinate understands. Ting used the last of her strength to nod. You little brat. You really make this sovereign worry. After saying that, his gaze landed on the tree that was full of vitality. The corner of his mouth curled up, revealing a smile. He raised his hand and aimed it at the tree. A soul-stirring energy surged out. In the next instant, a miracle occurred. The tree that Lin Li was aiming at, which had been full of life and vitality, instantly began to wither and turn yellow. The tree began to wither, and in the end, it transformed into dust. The instant the tree turned into dust, a meatball-like green light appeared before everyone's eyes. Under everyone's gaze, the green light came to Lin Rei's hand and was controlled by Lin Rei. It might hurt a little later. Endure it. After saying that, without waiting for Ouyang Ting to speak again, the green light in his hand aimed at Ouyang Ting's wound. With a light shake of his hand, the green light left his hand and entered Ouyang Ting's throat. Why, young master, don't speak. Your wound will heal soon. After saying that, his gaze landed on Fan Jun again. Lin Rei had already sentenced Fan Jun to death in his heart. Not to mention Li Jiping, who was his mission target. Even those old fellows in the holy world who had hidden themselves from the world could forget about protecting him. Because he deserved to die. You made a mistake this time. When your wound heals, I will impart a sword technique to you. Remember, watch carefully later. This sword technique is extremely powerful. Even if your cultivation reaches my level in the future, this sword technique will be very handy. Ouyang Ting followed Lin Rei's instructions. She didn't speak and just nodded to express her agreement. All right, take a rest. After saying that, the green light in his hand entered Ouyang Ting's throat. Lin Rei didn't pay any more attention to it. For such a small wound, it wasn't a problem at all. Die. Heh, that's impossible. Even a nascent soul realm cultivator could heal Ouyang Ting. All right, now that this matter is settled, it's time to talk about your matter. After saying that, he turned to Li Jiping and the others. Lin Rei wouldn't kill them. After all, Li Jiping was his mission target. He still needed to rely on Li Jiping to make a fortune and return to the holy world. Wouldn't it be a pity to kill him now? If he really wanted to do it, he would have to wait until he received the mission reward and left the empty underworld region. Senior, I was in a hurry just now and didn't mean to do it. Please forgive me. Seeing Lin Li's gaze fall upon them, Li Jiping's soul trembled and he hurriedly begged for mercy. Of course, if Senior feels that this is not enough to vent your anger, or if you want to find someone to pay the price for this, then, after saying that, he took a step forward and said firmly, if Senior thinks that it's possible, you can take my life away any time. Father, Your Highness. Li Jiping's words frightened Li Yunju and the rest. The life of the emperor equal to the emperor is extremely precious. When the neighboring countries heard Li Jiping's name, they didn't dare to make a move. Hence, Li Jiping's existence is indispensable to Hongtian Empire. Senior, use my life to exchange for His Highness. That's right, that's right. Mine is fine too, as long as you let His Highness go. His Highness was just joking. If he wants to live a long life, all of us are willing to sacrifice our lives for him. One by one, they stood out and drew their swords, placing them at their throats. They looked as though they were willing to sacrifice their lives for the sake of His Highness. Seeing the way everyone was behaving, Lin Li was stunned. The actions of these people truly shocked Lin Li. Do you all think that your lives are worth a lot? Looking at the crowd, Lin Rei said coldly. Senior, Junior. Looking at Lin Rei, Li Jiping wanted to refute. However, just as he spoke, Lin Rei cut him off. Shut your mouth. I have the final say in this matter. After saying that, he waved his hand at the crowd. Suddenly, a gust of wind blew. Instantly, the people who were willing to sacrifice their lives for His Highness all fell to the ground. Humph, a bunch of ants. In my eyes, your lives are not even worth an ant. If I want to, not just you all, even the entire Hongtian Empire can be reduced to ashes in an instant. These words might sound like a joke to the crowd, but Ouyang Ting knew that what he said was true. At the same time on the other side, Ouyang Zhen, who was sent out by Lin Rei, was shuttling back and forth in Hongtian King's manor. Basically, Ouyang Zhen had visited all the residences of the 3 ducal ministers and 9 ministers. He wouldn't have known if he didn't visit them, but once he did, he was shocked. It turned out that in Hongtian Empire, other than a few generals, there were only 2 or 3 officials who wholeheartedly supported Li Jiping. Regarding this, Ouyang Zhen was suspicious of the way Li Jiping interacted with him. According to Lin Rei's instructions, Ouyang Zhen didn't kill all the people who opposed Li Jiping. He killed 6 assistant ministers of the Ministry of Revenue and a doctor. Then, he captured a few officials of the 3 ducal ministers and 9 ministers and rushed towards where Lin Rei was. It has to be said that just today alone, the entire Hongtian Empire had the intention of suffering a serious injury. As for the generals, if Ouyang didn't pay attention to them, there were already so many civil officials. As for the generals, most of them were out of town and inconvenient. In front of the restaurant, it was silent. Everyone was looking at Lin Rei. No one dared to breathe too loudly, as if they were afraid that if they breathed too loudly, it would affect Lin Rei's thoughts. On the other hand, Lin Rei sat at the side, minding his own business. Fan Jun was imprisoned by Lin Rei at a distance. System, you said that I accepted to help Li Jiping unify the empire. Is there any other meaning to this mission? Regarding this matter, he had always maintained a skeptical attitude. After all, the usual missions were so difficult, and this mission always made Lin Li feel a little uneasy. He kept feeling that this was another trap that the system had dug for him. System, regarding Lin Rei, the system was already helpless. In the system's heart, it had already judged Lin Rei. Persecutory paranoia. Host, the system doesn't want to clarify this matter too many times. This is the last time. Remember this. The system spoke. However, from its tone, it seemed to be angry. Lin Rei didn't care about this. He only wanted to know if there was any other meaning behind this mission. Host, this system guarantees with my integrity that this mission is definitely not fishy. It is completely literal. Guarantee with your integrity? A strange gaze appeared. This time, Lin Rei was even more suspicious. What integrity? Do you even have any integrity? Of course, Lin Rei didn't say this out loud. He didn't want to be punished by the system again. Furthermore, his cultivation was lowered. If he accepted the punishment now, it would be suicide. Alright, anyway, don't think too much about this matter. Just focus on completing the mission. Alright, Lin Rei replied casually. Then, he regained his senses and looked into the distance. He saw Ouyang walking over with 3 people. You're back. Looking at Ouyang, Lin Rei smiled and said, Yes, young master. Fortunately, I didn't disappoint you. These are those people. As he spoke, he waved his hand. The 3 ministers, who were wrapped in holy spiritual qi, flashed in front of Lin Rei and fell to the ground. You. What's wrong with you? Looking at the 3 people, Li Jiping was dumbfounded. He obviously knew these 3 people and was very familiar with them. To be honest, if it weren't for the fact that he was the emperor equal to the emperor and had to prioritize the interests of the country, he would have killed them long ago. You. Emperor equal to the emperor? So it's you. You are so daring to do such a disgraceful thing. Are you planning to rebel? Chapter 1271. You guys. Looking at the 3 of them, Li Jiping was dumbfounded. What the hell is going on? At this moment, Li Jiping was completely at a loss. He raised his head and looked at the smiling Lin Rei. In an instant, he was dumbfounded. From Lin Rei, he saw kindness. It was different from the ruthless look he had when he was killing people. What the hell, what do you mean? Don't keep smiling at me. If you continue to act like this, can I still stay in Hongtian Empire? Unconsciously, Li Jiping started to avoid looking at Lin Rei's eyes. He did not want the emperor of Hongtian Empire to misunderstand him. If that happened, the people would definitely be plunged into misery and suffering. His entire family would probably not be able to live in peace. Lin Rei naturally understood Li Jiping's worries. He smiled, ran his fingers through his hair and smiled. Li Jiping, these are the 3 ministers and 9 ministers who are against you. As for before, I think there were a few minister of revenue or something like that, right? Of course, if you feel that this is not enough, I can get Ouyang to kill more. What imperial preceptor, minister of war, General Wei Hu, General Zhenbei, whatever. As long as you want, I can give you the entire empire. How about it? Boom. A bolt from the blue struck the resigning relative. His mind went blank as he stood there in a daze. He looked like he wanted to cry but no tears came out. Lin Rei found it funny. As the saying goes, the speaker may not have the intention, but the listener may have the intention. Although Li Jiping did not have such thoughts, his subordinates did not think so. In their hearts, only Li Jiping was their commander. As for the emperor, to hell with it. They were the ones who went to the front lines to kill the enemy. The ones who got promoted and got rich were those civil officials who spent all day writing. This kind of situation made their hearts cold. From afar, when Aunt Meng heard Lin Rui's words, her heart moved. She took a step forward and said empty-handed, "Senior, is what you said true? Are you really willing to help my master?" "You, Aunt Meng, what do you want to do?" Li Zhiping angrily roared and glared at Aunt Meng. Normally, Aunt Meng had always been meticulous, tight-lipped, and a person who kept her word. But now, she had actually spoken such disgraceful words. This caused him to find it a bit hard to believe, but for some reason, his heart felt warm. He understood that Aunt Meng was doing this because of him. If it wasn't for him back then, Aunt Meng would have been killed by the bandits. "Prince." Looking at Li Zhiping, Auntie Wei said, "Your Highness, after so many years, have you still not seen through Hongji's nature? Back then, if it wasn't for him, how could the princess have died? If it wasn't for him being greedy for the princess' beauty and wanting to force himself on her. All in all, I've had enough of this kind of monarch. What heaven's will? What heaven's will? What heaven's mandate? That's all bullshit. In this world, only those who are capable are able to control the vast lands and allow hundreds of people to live a peaceful life. If it wasn't for you, that bastard Hongji, this empire would have been destroyed long ago. And now, if he's not thinking about seizing military authority from you, he's thinking about how to frame you. What are you waiting for? Could it be that there will be a day when the princess' corpse is placed before you for you to wake up? Your Highness, wake up." Aunt Meng's voice was hysterical. Every word she said pierced into Li Zhiping's heart. All these years, how could he not feel pain for someone who had forced his beloved wife to her death? However, there were so many commoners in the Hongtian Empire. If he were to rise, the entire empire would be engulfed in the flames of war and the commoners would be homeless and destitute. This was something that he could not allow. It was also because of this reason that he had persevered until now. Even his own daughter, Li Yunju, had always thought that her mother had died of an illness. However, now that Aunt Meng had revealed the truth, she finally knew that her mother had been forced to her death by the monarch that she had been protecting. Thinking about what she had done to Hongji all these years, endless disgust surged into her heart. In the end, she couldn't help but roar towards the sky. This scene stunned Lin Rui. Originally, he thought that he would have to spend a lot of effort to persuade her. But now, this Aunt Meng had helped him greatly. He couldn't help but feel that Aunt Meng was more pleasing to the eye. Lin Rui did not disturb this scene. Instead, he walked towards the three ministers and squatted down. Looking at the three of them, killing intent surged in his heart. Tisk. TSK. TSK. Look at the three of you. All of you are covered in fat. Do you think that I can squeeze some oil out of your fat? What are you trying to do? The three of them were terrified. They had all witnessed how terrifying Ouyang was. Yet, such a powerful figure was standing obediently at the side, as though he was trying to scare them. Looking at the young man before them, they knew that the identity of this young man was definitely not simple. What are you trying to do? I am Li Wenba. If you touch me, I'm afraid that the entire Hongtian Empire will hunt you down. At that time you will. Poochie. A stream of blood spurted out from Li Wenba's neck. It was like a fountain. The scene was extremely festive. Li Wenba's head rolled to the side until it stopped in front of Li Zhiping. You really killed him? Li Zhiping was shocked. Although Li Wenba didn't have a lot of weight, he still possessed extraordinary influence in the imperial court. And now, the person who used to be high and mighty fell at his feet. Dry tongue. Facing the headless corpse, Lin Rui casually threw out the illusory spirit blood fire. The corpse that spurted out blood instantly turned into ashes and disappeared in the river of time. Ah! Demon! You're a demon! The remaining two people at the side regained their senses and screamed. Their faces turned pale and their bodies twitched as they moved to the side. Right now, the only thought in their minds was to stay as far away from Lin Rui as possible. As long as they could stay away from this person, they would do anything. Even if he asked them to sell their wives and daughters, they would agree without hesitation. Are you quiet now? Looking at the remaining two people, Lin Rui coldly snorted. Let me tell you. Right now, the only thing you can do is to tell me what kind of shameful things you've done in your entire life. Also, Tell me your entire fortune. If I find out that you're lying... Humph. At that time, not to mention the two of you, even your wives and children will suffer endless pain. Do you understand? We understand. We understand. I'll speak first. I'll speak first. At the side, a middle-aged man couldn't help but speak out all the bad things he's done in his entire life. Of course, it was nothing more than murder, robbery, and prostitution. Just like that, before the eyes of the crowd, the two of them spoke out all the shameful things they've done in their entire lives. There were no bad things. There were only worse things. One was worse than the other. There was no comparison. If one were to say that there were only bad people in this world, then the two of them were unparalleled. It should be said that they were equally matched. They were simply too amazing. Lin Rei was extremely disgusted by the two of them. Of course, he did not consider himself to be a good person. However, the people he killed were all cultivators. As for the two of them, the people they killed were either the old, the weak, the women, the children, or unmarried young ladies. They even schemed against their own wives and families. Toward people like them, Lin Rei wished that he could cut them into 8 pieces, skin them, pull out their tendons and light them up. Very well. The two of you are truly wicked. Although this exalted has killed no less than 1 million people, those were all people who deserved to be killed. As for the two of you, both of you deserve to die. You deserve to be killed. Of course, the most important thing is that the two of you are blocking this exalted's path to becoming a powerful expert. As long as someone blocks this exalted's path, they must die. Therefore, prepare yourselves. After saying that, he raised his hands and pressed them on the top of the heads of the two of them. Spiritual energy flowed from his palms and instantly turned into silver needles. Then, the needles entered their Bai Hui acupoints. Ah! The two of them screamed miserably. Their complexions turned pale. At this moment, cold sweat and tears flowed down their faces. What did you do to us? Their bodies trembled uncontrollably. However, their lower body did not have the slightest bit of intuition. This caused the two of them to feel fear in their hearts. This was especially true for the heart-piercing pain. This was the most painful feeling they had ever felt in their lives. This feeling did not only come from their bodies. More importantly, it came from the depths of their souls. Combining the two of them, they were able to endure until now. It was their courage. You can't endure it anymore? Seeing the two of them in such a sorry state, he sneered and continued, "This is only the beginning. Next, the two of you will feel even better." After saying that, a small dagger appeared in his hand. He brandished the dagger and slashed the two of them. Pieces of flesh were peeled off from their bodies. In the end, the flesh fell to the ground. Blood and gore. None of the people present had ever seen such a scene before. Even the clan head of the Ocean City's Ouyang clan, Ouyang Zhen, had never seen such a terrifying method. However, apart from Lin Rei, Ouyang Zhen was still fine. The rest of the people bent over and began to vomit. They looked like they wanted nothing more than to vomit out a month's worth of food. Lord Father, I'm scared. At this moment, Li Yunju was looking at Lin Rei. Her eyes were filled with fear. Her body unconsciously retreated into Li Yiping's embrace. She buried her frail body in Li Yiping's embrace. It's fine. Don't look. Don't think about it. Lord Father will protect you. Li Yunju's wide and firm embrace embraced her. In the distance, Lin Rei was still continuing. It seemed like he had no intention of stopping. He was still brandishing the dagger. Boom! Suddenly, the illusory spirit blood fire appeared and covered the dagger. With the illusory spirit blood fire, the dagger slashed the two of them. Zzz. Ah! Their cries of pain became louder and louder. However, their voices were filled with exhaustion and powerlessness. Tesquese, how boring! Feeling the vitality of the two of them continuously flowing out, Lin Rei lost interest. After all, they were just mortals. It was impossible for them to recover on their own like cultivators. Looking at the two of them on the verge of death, Li Yunju felt disgusted. He brandished the dagger in his hand and slashed it across their throats. Poochie! Blood spurted out. A cut appeared on their throats. Blood spurted out violently. The place was drenched in blood. It was like an azure battlefield. Those who heard it could not help but tremble. Looking at the two corpses, Lin Rei stood up and kept the dagger in his storage ring. Then, he wiped his hands and looked at Li Jiping in the distance. He said, "So, have you thought about it? Yes, accept my request and let me help you unify the world. Or give up this opportunity." Lin Rei's voice pulled Li Jiping back to reality. He was afraid of Lin Rei. He did not want to be associated with such a cold-blooded and heartless person. Thinking about his daughter and his family, he shook his head decisively. "No, I understand Senior's intention. However, I am already used to this kind of life. So, I am sorry." Li Jiping's refusal seemed to be within Lin Rei's expectation. He did not get angry. Instead, he smiled and turned around. He sent a message to Li Jiping. "Go. Since the prince is not willing to let me help, I can only follow my heart. Young master, please give me your orders." Ouyang Zhen cupped his hands, waiting for Huang Xiaolong's order. "Throw these two corpses to the family that has a grudge with Li Jiping. Remember, the family that has the deepest hatred. I believe that they will use these two corpses. When the time comes, I am afraid that Li Jiping will not come begging me." The corners of Huang Xiaolong's mouth rose, forming a bloodthirsty smile. Ouyang Zhen, who was watching from the side, shuddered. A chill ran down his spine. Ouyang Zhen bowed and stretched out his hand. Holy spiritual qi emerged and wrapped around the two corpses. In a flicker, they disappeared. After Ouyang Zhen left, in the distance, Ouyang Ting, who had recovered from her injuries, opened her eyes and a smile appeared on her face. Just a moment ago, she felt the key to breaking through to the next realm. If she could find this key, breaking through to the next realm would be just around the corner. She stood up and patted the dust off her clothes. Holding her sword, she tiptoed over to Lin Rei. Lowering her head, she admitted her mistake in a low voice. "Young master, this subordinate knows her mistake. In the future, this subordinate will not let down young master's efforts. Actually, you don't have to take it to heart. You have just stepped into the Dao Gate. You still have a long way to go. When the time comes, you will understand that the principles that the sovereign imparted to you are real and effective in saving your life. Young master, this subordinate..." "All right, let's not talk about this anymore. In a while, you will go and keep an eye on that person. It will be time for you to take your revenge." After saying that, Huang Xiaolong waved his hand and removed the shackles on Fan Jun. The illusion formation around him also disappeared. Once the illusion formation was broken, Fan Jun naturally regained consciousness. He turned his head in a daze and saw Li Jiping and the others. "Your Highness? Your Highness, why are you here?" As Fan Jun spoke, he took a step toward Li Jiping. However, just as he took a step, a sword image charged at him, leaving a long sword mark where he had taken a step. "If you don't want to die, stay where you are and don't move. Otherwise, with the next sword strike, you will definitely die." Chapter 1272. "You!" He turned around and glared at Lin Rei. Facing Lin Rei, he felt an indescribable killing intent. If not for the fact that he was no match for Lin Rei, he would have already attacked him. "TSK, TSK." Looking at those resentful eyes, Lin Rei smacked his lips. He wanted to laugh and said, "Little guy, before you try to kill me, please take a look at the corpses around you. Otherwise, I'm afraid that you'll regret it." As he spoke, Fan Jun pointed at the corpses on the ground. The scene of blood made one's jaw drop. When he saw Li Jiping just now, he only wanted to laugh and walk over. Now that Lin Rei reminded him, he saw a scarlet color from the corner of his eyes. The pungent smell of blood rushed into his nose and mouth. He turned around and looked at the scarlet corpses in the distance. However, the moment he saw the corpses, Fan Jun was stunned. His face turned pale and his parents were sweating profusely. His eyes widened as he looked at those familiar figures lying on the ground in disbelief. His mind buzzed and tears flowed uncontrollably from his eyes. How is this possible? How could they? You killed them. Lin Rei opened his mouth. His voice was filled with coldness. When he said those words, a cold smile appeared on his face. His appearance made one's heart turn cold. "No. Impossible. How could I? How could I attack my brother? You're lying to me. It's impossible. He opened his mouth and roared. However, halfway through his rebuttal, the scene of him slaughtering everyone flashed in his mind. Suddenly, a bad premonition appeared in his heart. The more he thought about it, the weaker his body became. He staggered backward with a face full of disbelief. It was impossible. Linley, who had been watching all this time, revealed a smile on his face. Wasn't this the result he wanted to see? Thinking about it, Linley tossed a torch onto the already burning gasoline. Instantly, the fire grew larger and larger, and there was no way to stop it. Little doll, you don't say. Your performance just now really made me sigh with emotion. We were once comrades, once brothers. I didn't expect you to kill them in such an illusion. Not bad, young man. You have a bright future. As he spoke, Lin Rei couldn't help but clap and cheer, as if this was something worthy of praise and pride. You! Fan Jun understood that all of this was done by the young man in front of him. Otherwise, he would not have done such a thing. Plop! I fell on my butt with a loud thud as tears streamed down my face. I cried so hard that the world turned dark. I cried so hard that it pierced through my heart. No. Impossible, how could I kill my brother? It can't be me, there must be a mistake somewhere. Yes, it must be you lying to me. Pointing at Lin Rei, Fan Jun roared. He did not believe that the people who used to drink and chat merrily with him in the past would all be lying on the ground with their faces pale and their eyes wide open. They died with remaining grievances. From afar, Li Jiping, who was watching this scene, let out a long sigh. As a bystander, he understood what Lin Rei meant. What he did was to destroy the heart. Now, even if Lin Rei didn't kill him, Fan Jun would probably never hold a blade in his hand and enter the battlefield again. With this experience, Fan Jun would probably live in a nightmare for the rest of his life. He would be haunted by this bloody scene forever. You will only be like this for the rest of your life. This is the price you have to pay for trying to deal with me. Young master, could it be that you want to keep this person alive? Hearing Lin Rei's words, Ouyang Ting questioned. Previously, she said that she wanted to prove herself. Originally, she wanted to fight again to make up for her previous mistakes. But now, from Lin Rei's words, she could tell that Lin Rei was planning to let go of this person. What do you want? Looking at Ouyang Ting, Lin Rei's interest was piqued by Ouyang Ting's words. Ouyang Ting couldn't hide anything from him. She directly said, "Of course I want to kill him. It's this subordinate's fault for not making a move before. This time, young master, please rest assured. This subordinate will definitely kill him." Her words were clear and her eyes were filled with determination. Xiao Hua has changed. Li Yunzhu looked at Ouyang Ting and came to this conclusion. Indeed, Ouyang Ting had changed. She had become bloodthirsty and determined. She had changed to the point where they could no longer recognize her. In Lin Rei's opinion, all these changes were very good. Xiao Ting, you don't have to worry about this matter. As he spoke, he pointed at Fan Jun, who had sunk into madness, and sneered. Do you think that the current him is better than being dead? His heart is now filled with pride, pain, regret, and unwillingness. And I want him to live in this pain for the rest of his life. Of course, perhaps one day, he will wake up. But by then, he won't live for long. Because when he had the thought of going against me, his life no longer belongs to him. As he spoke, he turned to look at Ouyang Ting and continued, So remember this. If you want someone to suffer, you don't necessarily have to kill him. Sometimes, this kind of pain is far more torturous than death. Hearing this, Ouyang Ting's heart trembled. Her understanding of Lin Rei deepened. She didn't say anything and nodded heavily. She remembered all these things in her heart. All right, this matter is over. As for him, let him live. Let him live in repentance. As he spoke, his gaze fell on Li Jiping and the others. A smile flashed across his face. We will meet again. I hope that when that time comes, you will still have the same attitude. With that, he turned around and left this bloody place with Ouyang Ting without looking at Li Jiping and the others. After Linley left, Li Jiping made 3 confirmations. Finally, his body relaxed, and his tense expression collapsed. Finally, he's gone. He was fearful of Lin Rei's strength. He swore that he never wanted to see him again. However, What made him even more terrified was the 3 officials he had killed, as well as the Minister of Revenue and the other officials he had killed. If what he said was true, the court would be in turmoil. When that time came, he would not be able to escape. Thinking about it, he felt that time was running out. He locked his gaze on his daughter and his heart tightened. His eyes were filled with determination. At this moment, in the Hongtian Emperor's palace, the lights were brightly lit. There was a cacophony of noises. In the heavenly palace, Hongji sat on the guard, anxiously looking at the civil and military officials below. His face was as gloomy as water. At this time, he should have been playing around with his beloved concubines and making children. Yet he had appeared here. Tell me, more than 10 officials were killed in a day, including the 3 ministers and 9 ministers. Tell me, how should we deal with this matter? You're tuning in to the Xueqi's Martial Arts Saga YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.